Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Giant Bomb's E3 2012 After Hours Live. We have finished day one here at E3 and have survived to tell the tale. Let's give it up for E3 for day one here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Oh, yeah. That's enthusiasm if I've ever heard it. We have a hot, fresh panel of hot and tasty panel of.
We do.
Of exclusionary guests here today. First off, I'm super excited about this. We've got Jake Solomon, lead designer on XCOM Enemy Unknown.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Jake, thank you so much for making the time.
No problem.
And we've also got Garth DeAngelis, lead producer.
Yes, that's correct.
Also on XCOM Enemy Unknown.
Yes, thank you very much for having
Super
us.
excited about that game, by the way. I've been talking about that.
You don't talk about it all the time.
I do talk about it all the time.
I know you do. I know you do.
Patrick Klepek's here.
Confirming your excitement for XCOM Enemy Unknown.
I mean, I loved Civ 5. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I've Firaxis stuff has been awesome for years. I will also sit here. Actually, I only have you guys on here because I want to pitch Sim Golf 2 for the next 4 hours.
I worked on that. I worked on
Did
that.
you really?
So yes. So
I'm a SimAnt fan though, personally.
Really?
Oh yeah.
SimAnt.
That was like one of the only games I had on PC when I was a kid, and I played it like nonstop. It was my mom probably thought I had learning disabilities or something.
that voice right there is of Mikey Newman from Gearbox. Mikey, what's your position there? I actually don't know off the top of my
Will
head.
Smith just walked in the room.
He
Yeah,
did. He's getting jiggy
my
with it.
title is Chief Creative Champion at Gearbox. I work basically for the.
You just made up your own title, didn't
I did,
you?
yeah. Well, no, the champion thing is because I run around doing a lot of crazy stuff like champion ideas, so that's why I threw it in there. But I mean, basically, I work.
You actually have a business card that says that?
I do. You want one?
I do want. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, everyone should have one.
That's pretty
Give me
awesome.
one, and then I'm going to read all the information on the air. It's going to be awesome.
Whatever. That's not me. I'm just going to grab.
He's going to give me someone else's card. Well, while you figure that out, we've got John Bellamy, a.k.a. Cowboy.
Back once again, yeah.
Yeah, a favorite from last year. Here we go. Thank you, sir.
Please don't actually read it out.
From Naughty Dog, this is awesome because we can now actually talk to you about the game that you're working on.
Yes, and was working on at E3 last year.
Yes,
I
last
tried
year-
desperately to talk around.
Yes, last year everyone was like, "Ooh, Uncharted 3," and you're like, "Yeah, Uncharted 3."
Yes. Great team. Good.
Yeah, those guys are doing some cool stuff over there. And but now The Last of Us is out there.
Yep.
You guys are showing the hell out of it at E3.
In the face.
Yeah, all up in everyone's grills.
face, lack of faces.
Oh, yeah.
Result of
Shotguns.
Can I say-
Our
Face.
motto is, if you can hurt someone, why not do it to the
You
face?
guys have the ballsiest t-shirt. Like most people, when they do t-shirts for E3, they put something on there. They put something funny or something so people actually want to wear it. Yours just seriously just fucking says "The Last of Us" in huge font, and
Maximum
you're like,
contrast, yeah.
yeah, you should walk around with a bag of mics and just drop them at different times.
Dude, I love that. I love the idea of just having mics on hand just to do the end of conversation. Just like I drop the mic and I'm out. It's not even attached to anything. I wasn't even using it during the conversation.
You can keep that mic.
Just so you know.
That mic's for you.
Yeah, I don't even need that mic. Just go
Pick
buy
it up off the ground.
Go buy the cheapest mics that you can. Chris, what's the cheapest mic I can get? Chris Tilton, also here.
Hello.
The composer of SimCity, also shown off for the first time to the public here at E3.
Did you compose SimAnt?
Did I what?
Did you compose SimAnt?
No, SimCity is the first sim-related game I've worked on.
Well, it's been
We're
nice.
going back to
See you guys.
SimAnt tonight. SimAnt is going to be a theme running through the night.
I pretty much. Well, can I say like this is kind of my favorite game of the last 5 years. No shit for each of them. Right, it's 4 years. I don't know. When did Civ 5 is my favorite thing ever.
God, I love this place.
Right? You know?
Yeah.
It's just ego stroke all day long.
No,
You
it's
guys
like
are-
everybody else is like, let's make experiences and all these things. You're like, let's make a game with a game in it.
How about that? How about we make
And I was
a
like,
game?
seriously, I was 5 minutes into it. And I was like, this is the best game of Catan I've ever played. And I was seriously.
It's like a 40-hour, one game of Catan.
Oh yeah, no, we've had games we put it all the way up to the longest time where like stuff takes like
Oh,
240
man.
turns. We beat
You
one.
guys are hardcore.
I mean, I reviewed
Dude,
the
I
game,
love it.
but it's like, I played through, maybe 4 games with different, civilizations, and I'm just like, to actually see every single civilization, I would be dead before I actually got there to actually review the game.
That's our goal. That's our goal.
What's your
is-
go-to civilization though? Like,
The America.
Really?
The US, yeah.
I got really obsessed with, especially online, going with Gandhi.
See, I don't like the city structure.
I liked it. No, because he gets all that extra culture. So I end up making 3 mega cities where all I do is build.
I'm
like,
an
these
expansionist.
ridiculous wonders of the world. I built. It's like Gandhi.
They call it
built Hollywood,
imperialist.
and what?
Manifest destiny. That's what I'm all about, man. That's
you
my
and Sacagawea.
that's
or
my
Sacagawea, how do you
that's
say it?
my MO. You say however you want. We won.
We beat Sacagawea.
Wait,
in
in
the
your,
war
in your
of
Civ game you
Getting
won?
her pregnant on the route across America.
Oh, it's not late enough to get into that stuff, Mike. It's only 8:15, man. We can't. You got to get to.
It's like
at
11:15
I've-
East
I've had some
Coast.
rough nights.
Fair enough.
I've been here for 3 days already. I've been working on top, so yeah, I'm gonna be drunk in like the next 10 minutes probably.
Fantastic. Then all the trade secrets from Gearbox come flowing out.
I wish I knew them. I'm just gonna make some shit up.
He can't champion secrets.
What?
Oh yes, I can.
Why not?
No?
Oh yeah.
Or also,
Only in
or
that
you can
voice.
just make stuff up. I'm down for that
Yep.
also.
We're actually doing the expansion pack to Last of Us called Last of Us Opposing Force, and you're actually gonna play as the bad guys. It's really
You heard it
interesting.
here first. Exclusionary content only on Giant
It's out
Bomb.
there.
Hear
Now
how
it's
fast
happening.
that got Randy? Where I'm like, no, it's really cool. It's really 0 to Randy is now very.
I like that. I like that.
Zero
Randy
to
is the
Randy.
maximum speed.
Oh, by the way, yeah, that's a normal phrase to get, but 0 to Randy, yeah. It's usually about 5 minutes.
No, he is an exciting and excitable gentleman for sure. But you're pretty good too.
Yeah, I'm glad he turned it down so I could come out and hang.
There was a power vacuum. You filled it. Actually, no. You came with.
You've seen my business card, dude.
I know I did, and it's true. I'm not going to give you a close up here, but on the camera for the live stream. But it does in fact say Chief Creef.
Grief Creative Champion?
Grief Creative
That's a different guy.
Champion. No, Chief Creative Champion. Right there. I'm going to throw it down dismissively on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how's everyone doing? How did everyone survive day one, John?
This is my post-crunch days, just walking around in Zen mode. 'Cause
Yeah.
my E3 was the past 4 weeks, and this is just it's on fucking you now. I'm done. I'm out. We got the demo. It didn't fuck up.
Yeah.
I'm happy. That
That's-
was my goal. That didn't look like.
So is it? You always hear this stuff from devs when it comes to E3 time. Oh my god, my phone! I'm so sorry. Pausing to you guys, not to my phone. You always hear from devs prior to E3 of just this murderous process of ginning something up, your vertical slice, as they like to call it.
Yep.
To have something to present at E3 and the amount of time that goes into that. And obviously, showing at E3 and getting attention during that is super important. But
Yes.
it always seems like it is this sort of derailing moment in the dev cycle, depending on where you really are in that process.
Well, I mean, for us, what was really important to us is we wanted to show what the gameplay would be for the game. Having that combined with the fact that it's a new IP and our obsessive attention to detail, I'm frame by framing dudes, seeing did they do something weird? Did they do something weird? And, it's that's been my week, and it's interesting going through this process because it reminded me a lot of what we went through when we first launched the original Uncharted.
Yeah.
Because it's a very different experience putting out a new IP than a sequel to an IP, where people have baseline expectations. Like this, we had no fucking clue how they would react to it.
Can I just offer you one anecdote?
Sure.
So the art director of Borderlands 2, Jeremy Cook, amazing artist. He got
Nice
back
name
to me-
drop. That's good.
Well, I'm just it's,
No.
I think you're gonna enjoy this anecdote. But yeah, he
All
came
right,
back.
get ready, folks. We've got an
Well,
enjoyable
now
anecdote
it's
coming
gonna
up.
We have
The build-up, the
we have a sound
build-up.
effect that
Come
plays,
on.
right?
Yeah, I
Every
think
time.
we're not to the exclusionary yet.
Exclusive anecdote.
Everybody keel it up. Let's go. No, he got back and he was like, I just saw The Last of Us. And he wasn't talking normal. And I was trying to get information out of him, and I'm pretty sure all he was capable of doing was making out with me.
His brain was fried. You're
I
saying that
need
The Last
to go
of Us.
see this apparently because he was blown away.
That- We're glad. I mean, the
So
reaction
now I'm
has
selling
been-
your game for you because you were just well, it kind of sucks. It's tough broke. It's really hard. And I'm like, hey, dude, by the way.
No, that's fantastic. Here, the whole reaction across the board is just it's incredibly heartwarming, and it's always that okay, now we have to ship this thing, and now we have to make that game.
Right.
Like, and now we have to
that
finish
is
it.
exactly right. Like you get accolades, you get a lot of people excited about it, and honestly, like creatively, you're like, that is so awesome. And then I think, and that's what drives a lot of creative people. Then the other half of you is like, oh my God, I got to measure up to all these people.
I'm intentionally pushing that feeling off until I actually get home from E3. I'm just
Right.
using this time
That's
to just
smart.
like, what? Oh, hey, sweet, Rayman.
Well, isn't there that moment in that's the slice you have to create is you're really polishing that slice, and
Yes.
a lot of that those moments happen to the rest of the game later, but you have like this one very specific moment that is like the ideal scenario for what you want the rest of your game to kind of play like.
It's a nice
Yeah.
little microcosm of like, this is kind of like a good vignette of what this game should look like. And to Ryan's point about how sometimes E3 demos can derail production, like if you are doing that to where you're putting all this energy into work that you have to throw out, like that is effectively what you're doing when you derail. Like you're losing a month of work to make a demo and not necessarily make the game. And I think we've been really good about that with The Last of Us, where we actually develop all these gameplay systems to show in this demo, and like nearly all of it, like we're going to take and move forward, and it's going to. I'm really excited about what we can do with it.
Are you saying you guys are actually only to vertical slice though? It's that early?
You're going to get me in trouble.
You called them out
You
there.
walked into it. I'm not
You're right.
throwing softballs tonight. We brought wild builds. That's all I'm saying. We just were like that one.
Well, you guys also have 8 games that you're currently showing, so you can't.
Yeah, right?
You don't have the
What?
time to build all
I
these
know,
vertical
yeah.
slices, man.
Yeah,
You guys have some
I could.
great
I mean,
booths,
if you want me to
too.
bust you up, I could start asking you about Brothers in Arms. So
If you want to bust me up, you'd bring up Duke Nukem Forever. let's
I'm not. I don't want to
champion that game.
No, dude.
I don't wanna go for blood, man.
At PAX, I was at the Major Nelson podcast, the live one, and he called. I'm sitting in the audience. He calls me out. He's like, Mikey, DNF, and I'm like, okay. Walked up on stage, leaned over to the microphone, and said, "Hi, I'm Mikey. I'm sorry for Duke Nukem Forever," and I walked up.
But I mean, how much blame can you guys take? For,
I can't take any, so I can freely apologize.
You're in the clear.
No, okay, so this is what's weird, though. Like, I'm credited in it because it's all the Gearboxes, and I actually did do some stuff on it just to help out. But, like, if you had told 14-year-old me in that, was that 2001 trailer when that came out?
Yeah.
You'd have been
Yeah.
like, 14-year-old Mikey, dude, you're going to be, like, the 15th credit in Duke Nukem Forever. And I'd be like, wow, did I start in
That's-
games at 19?
That's weird, yeah.
Because I'm 30 now. That seems like a long time. But yeah, it's weird that became true later and means so much to me. It's
I remember being at that E3 where like that
the revealing
one where they had like
You were
the
born?
I've been going to E3 since '98, if you can believe it.
He was born at that E3.
Yeah.
He was in
Duke
the room.
is
at
my
that
It's a
father.
weird
It's
story,
really-
but
That's 14
you were an
years.
E3 baby.
You look 14.
I know,
totally,
27.
I'm
can't grow
30,
the
so
facial hair.
dude, we got the
Can't
same
grow the
thing. It's
facial hair.
fine. We have like
It'll be great when we're like 40. Like
we
finally,
have
I'll
like
stop
male
getting my
pattern
ID checks.
alopecia, I think, or something. It's like
A couple of baby faces here.
I don't know. This sounds like an E3 mystery to me. We're going to be able to see like old sepia pictures of ancient E3s, and there's Patrick Klepek with the big hair
I
in the
know,
background.
my pink underage badge. Like that's really like as if I didn't feel weird enough like being 14 at the show. Like yeah, it's the pink badge. It says underage media or whatever it was.
Do not give booze.
I bet you
Yeah.
had some really weird.
Got some at the
friends.
Sony
you're
party
underage,
one
huh?
time,
And you're like, hey guy.
hey, buddy.
Jeff has similar stories of underage.
Or probably like CES. and
CES
stuff.
Chicago madness at
The trick to get booze at those parties when you're underage.
Pay attention, kids. It's
Was
important.
to pick one up, an empty beer off the ground, or left on a table.
Yeah.
Then most people that were working these places don't really give a shit. They just don't
No.
want to get in trouble. So as long as you go up with an empty and like, hey, can I have a beer? They're like, well, he's got one.
I feel like we were giving really dangerous information out there. 'Cause that seems like way too
Yeah.
effective.
So when you find yourself at an E3 party audience, make sure that you pick up an empty beer.
well, I mean, what? So
That probably works in other scenarios, though. So
but
What's at
like
funerals?
like the first time that I approached an open bar in a work context, I was 22 or 23 or something. Still young enough to get into just far too much trouble.
it's a useful skill. I find it to be a useful skill at weddings because I think for a lot of people that's like the only time you encounter an open bar. But it's pretty common, like at video game events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you make your mistakes. You get
Take
to a
your
wedding,
lumps. Yeah.
You know
You
how
know-
to handle
you know
yourself.
better.
You don't become that person.
No. You don't have to write apology cards to people.
I think I'm more impressed that we started this conversation before we went on the air. Is it okay to swear?
Yeah.
And somehow within like 10 minutes we ended up at here's how to be an underage drinker.
Here, kids.
Effective underage
I
drinking
get it, and
tips.
so can you.
If you would just listed like which party, like the Ubisoft party do it this way, the EA party, like if you'd actually like listed specifics for each publisher, I think we could have gotten in a lot of trouble.
But you do have to get your open bar legs. It
Oh,
is-
yeah, you gotta-
'cause
you
the
gotta-
first time
you
you
gotta
see
fuck
one, you take a run at it real hard, and you are rebuffed for your hubris. But eventually you figure it out, I guess,
Or not.
or not, or you just keep doing
Just
it
keep
over and
trucking.
over again, going, "Why is this happening to me all the time?" And then you're in AA, and so that's where that story ends in tragedy.
Go to E3 underage.
God, man, this went dark
Yeah,
real
it did,
quick.
yeah.
Real
Go
quick.
dark.
This just got
Did I
dark.
mention how much I like Civ 5?
Right. What happened to all the love?
So I want to talk to you guys about XCOM.
Yes.
I was, I had seen the XCOM first-person shooter, XCOM, the first-person shooter
Yes.
that
Yep.
is currently being retooled.
Yes.
Again, but I saw it last year at the show, and I liked a lot about it.
Yes.
I know that there was a lot of negativity around that, but I thought that there was a lot of real promising concepts in there. That said, when word came out that hey, they're going to make a proper strategy XCOM game, I'm like, oh, that's great. And they said, oh, and Firaxis is going to make it. I'm like, well, then that's it. You're done. That's you don't need to worry about
That's-
anything
that's what
else
we like to
because
hear.
it's that's as far as current turn-based strategy development goes. I don't think there's.
We're out there on the ledge, aren't we? We're the
Yeah,
dudes.
that's right. You're the
It's like you and the
That's
Fire
right.
Emblem guys. Just
We're
like,
the tip
of the
trucking
spear.
along.
You know what? Fuck those guys.
That's
Oh, I like
Nintendo,
this.
isn't it?
I like this.
They're like
Actually,
the
you know
nicest
what?
people
I take
in the
all
world.
that back.
Us and
Nintendo's
Nippon
very
Ichi.
That's
litigious.
isn't
the only ones
isn't that,
remaining.
Intelligent Systems,
Yeah. Yeah, they
which
did
one
Fire
of
Emblem
the
games.
better little teams inside of Nintendo. There, I love that. I want to start turn-based beef though. But now you have to wait.
Yeah.
Sorry, Advance Wars.
Now you have to
Yeah.
wait until
Yes.
they fire back at you,
Right.
and then
I'm
you'll.
just gonna say that. Fuck those guys. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say, man. That's all I'm gonna say. They know why too. That's all I'm gonna say. They know
When
why.
I go to the
They know
3DS
why.
roundtable tomorrow, Q&A session, like,
Right.
so
Ask them.
Source over on the XCOM team says, "Fuck you guys."
Right.
You know
Yeah, so-
why?
Do you have a response?
Why?
Yeah.
Ask them why.
Somewhere the Gearbox marketing team is shitting themselves from what they allowed me to get. And I'm like, okay, we're shitting on Nintendo.
Steve Gibson's
all right.
just like, oh god damn it!
No,
Shouldn't-
Steve's like, oh, another beer. It's Adam who's probably like,
sweating
Adam Fletcher at Pez Radar on Twitter. Everyone tweet at
You
Pez
want to
Radar.
freak him out right
Mikey
now.
is
Make up
talking
some
shit.
stories about this podcast.
He's just gonna come bursting through that door in about 10 minutes.
Oh, he has the address.
It's over.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be like 5 minutes because he can't stop for tacos.
There is that great taco truck.
Oh, I made that up.
Although I
It's a
should
taco
say,
truck.
let's try and not give away too much information about the location here. So,
You know, the taco truck in Los Angeles.
well,
I know.
I'm not gonna
We're
go into
actually
it.
in the Staples Center.
I know we're in. This is where Jack Nicholson likes to hang out before Lakers games.
And where Wayne Gretzky died.
This is-
also I started the rumor that Wayne Gretzky died.
What? What am I
Wait.
a part of? I want out of this. I
You're the
want
one who's
out
like,
of this.
Nintendo, fuck you. Like, that was you.
This is
I
over.
love Nintendo.
So how did you?
I know.
I mean, so how did
My
the
name is Sid Meier. I gotta leave.
Sid Meier's "fuck you"? How about
Right.
that?
Oh my god!
play
I really
that.
don't want a part of this. That man is dangerous.
Sid does
He
not
looks like a
approve right
nice
now.
guy. You guys think he's a nice guy. I'm
Okay,
gonna get
so
home
we
and
got
I'm going
Gearbox
in the
PR and
cage.
Firaxis PR shitting themselves.
Just
Anybody
smoking a
else wanna-
cigar in the
Naughty
corner.
Dog, come on, bring
I'm
it.
gonna walk in the room.
The Last of Us
He's
is
gonna
Sid Meier's
go-
fuck you.
Actually, you already kind of screwed that up. Oh, hang on, got a text. Oh no, it's my cousin. Never mind.
So XCOM.
So how did that process start? Obviously, the first person shooter had kind of been trucking along for some amount of time before
Yeah.
the announcement got made for you guys.
It's one of those internally, we had both been in development for years at
Yeah.
that point. So we just knew each other as the two XCOM teams, and we talked back and forth with those guys, and we didn't. You're in your bubble when you're, developing a game and it's a secret. You're in your bubble for years
Sure.
and years, and so you're just kind of like, you don't even know what the reaction to this kind of stuff will be. And so we just knew of each other as like, oh, yeah, the Marin guys. And we talk back and forth and say, oh, we're thinking of doing this. They're thinking of doing that. And we have a loose connection to each other. And so when
But neither development was really sort of informing the other. It was very much two parallel paths for that
yeah,
stuff.
it was two parallel paths. I mean, it was really more that they were going to, they're sort of expanding the universe and telling their own story, and we were more, we're obviously more focused on the original, sort of a love letter to that original game, which, for me that's my favorite game. I mean, that's why I'm doing this. So, yeah, so we sort of, we existed in parallel, and we talked back and forth, and then it's always so funny. I mean, I'm sure the other developers know, like, internally you have your own vision of how things are, and then when things get announced, you're a little bit like, whoa, everybody, hey, take it easy, man. Everybody be cool here. It's like a high school party. You're like, hey, everybody calm down, all right? Everybody be cool. Because,
You still go to high school parties?
I got one later tonight, if you're ready to roll.
We're actually in a high school party right
That's
now.
why we were dropping all those underage drinking tips.
That's right. And now we're going to go really blue and talk about how to crash high school parties when you're 35. How about that one?
Oh, be a dad? Is that the?
That's right. Has anyone seen my son? If not, I'll stay here until he returns.
All you playing spin the bottle?
couch with these women.
Right.
And these condoms.
Hey, what about that Usher guy? He's cool, right, guys?
What are you? Is this a harmonics high
Jonas
school party?
Brothers? I don't know.
Going down a dark path.
I know. Let's
You're just
back it out. Back it
doing a lot
out.
of dark
in every
Back
direction
it out.
today, man.
Let's just back this
Everybody's like,
out.
"Oh, XCOM's so great," and he's like, "I know, I hate all your shit." Like,
Just back it out, everybody.
wow, okay. I didn't like it that much.
So my question would be, I've always sort of admired the XCOM games, but every time I've tried to boot them up, they kick my ass. I get scared. I run away. They're very hardcore strategy
Yes.
games. Those original
Yeah.
games, especially if you go into them without the context of how they were made, how they were. That was a different period
Right.
where people learned how
I
to
feel
play
your
games.
pain, my friend.
Yeah, so I'm, it's clearly a love letter to the people who specifically have memories of those games, but clearly you're going into a market where you want, people that didn't play those games to also enjoy it.
Of course.
So I imagine that's a really difficult balance to strike, because you want to give all the props to the fans, make sure they got everything they want, but you're also at the same time trying to think about, games have changed since then.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I mean, part of it is sort of like the you can be very hipster with the original XCOM, right? You can be like, yeah, I liked that before tutorials or any sort of instruction at all. Like, I like that game.
That first mission can just you try and boot that up now, and it will just. And if you haven't played
You
it
walk
in years,
out and just dead.
You just
whips
die.
your ass. Like,
Absolutely.
why? What
Right.
happened? I don't. Oh,
We should tell them about our first night together, you and me.
Okay.
Jake.
What?
Jake,
You
let's
guys
go.
in work tonight are
after
not
hours.
It was a high
for
school party.
sure.
I got the spear.
No, but your question actually, it resonates a lot with me because I know this is blasphemous to a lot of XCOM fans. I did not play the original until I joined Firaxis. Jake is one of the biggest fans you will find. And he sat me down to play the original and said, I love turn-based tactical games, but I was more of a console gamer. Those Japanese games that everyone was shitting on earlier, I love.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sat down to play the original XCOM. Long story short,
That's right, everyone, Mikey. You were shitting on them too.
I'm like,
You're part of this, man. You were here.
you're actually-
We're in
if
this
you want me to shit
together.
on it, I'd just be like Bayonetta, and I'm like, I'm sure.
Gearbox hates Nintendo.
That's
We're
the
in the
takeaway.
conference.
That's the
That's the
headline right
takeaway.
there.
They love us. We're doing Colonial Marines with the motion tracker on the whole thing. Like it's great. It's awesome.
It's so convincing.
No,
As
it
your,
is.
as
It's
your
awesome.
voice
Like,
gets higher and higher, I believe you more.
that was more just because it's funny and it's happened to be going up. No, dude, Nintendo's awesome. They love us. We love them.
Okay, so you
I'm
have your
sorry,
first
Garth,
first
continue.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
ignore
the-
my bullshit.
You have
No,
a-
I like your bullshit. This is good. But the bottom line is, I sat down to play the game for the first time, and it took me a considerable amount of time to even get into the first mission. You sit down, you see Earth hanging there. You have 6 or 7 different options with all these financials and different things you can do with absolutely zero direction. Once I was able to get past that extremely
Wonderful.
steep learning,
That's how
he loved
games
it.
should
He was
be.
telling me, "This is beautiful. This is it. This is why XCOM is great." But
Your confusion feeds me.
yeah, I still feel like we need to lessen that learning curve a little bit, because once I got to the good stuff, I agree this is one of the greatest strategy experiences I ever played. But getting to that to the meat of it took me a little.
It's the initial.
It's the initial learning curve,
Yeah.
and that's very different than the challenge of the game. The challenge is still fully intact.
Actually, I don't know if so if you guys as developers have this experience but where we come from, accessibility, is
Dirty
just-
word. You
it's
shouldn't
a
say
bad
that.
word, right? It's a bad word, and so for us, like
Is that like the
accessibility,
equivalent of like dumbing down?
Yes.
it's vilified.
Well,
it's vilified.
that's crazy because I feel like that has been like the hallmark of Firaxis for maybe the last decade has been
That we have dumb games, dumb down games.
That that it's been able to ease you into like you don't even realize that you are learning all of these systems in. Like, so Sim Golf is relatively simple, but there's still a fair amount going on in that game. You look at Civ 5, though. I know that a lot was learned from Civ Rev as
Right.
far as kind of interface and flow of that stuff. Like, there's a huge amount of stuff going on in that game at any given time, but it's smart about the way it sort of draws your attention to certain things at key points, like when it's important. It's like, hey, you should probably. It doesn't say this is It definitely tries to guide you in the direction of like, now would be a good time to consider doing this or that. Here are some of the implications of this, but doesn't necessarily spell every single thing out for you. So
Yeah,
that's an
absolutely.
incredible balance to try and find.
I think it's important to make the distinction between like this idea of accessibility versus making it intuitive, and having complex systems
Yes.
that are intuitive is by itself accessible. And you don't have to have this like I'm only going to give you the one button now. Okay, now press the one button. Did you do it? Okay, moving on. 2 buttons. You can have the whole thing open up as long as it is appropriate to the player, like in terms of like both the UI and the function of the system. It can be done well, but that is like the hard thing to do. And
It sounds like it's just become a dirty word. Like people associate it with things that they have not.
with
liked.
starting you out with like a quarter of what the game actually is.
Right.
Whereas it is possible, I hope, to have a game that is fully featured and open up to the player. And as long as like the situation you place the player in and the presentation around it is intuitive to the player itself, then like you discover these features naturally. Like you can discover like what Sim Golf is doing under the hood as a player when you decide to dig. And I think that's the ideal way to handle it. And I love it when like Firaxis handles it that way. It's props to you guys.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where
God, I love Sim Golf. Let's just
For
keep
us-
talking about Sim
Yeah,
Golf.
I love this.
I remember the first time
This is
really
the
nice.
first time that someone like I was in the business at the time, and someone slid a copy onto my desk. I had already established
under your desk.
onto my desk.
What are you doing under your desk, Ryan?
I was young and scared. I had already I had a taste for I'm not a golfer, but I enjoy golf video games. I have for a long time.
Sure.
And so someone said, "Here, you might enjoy this." And I don't think it had even come out yet. I think it was still in pre-release. It was Final Code though. And it's, check this out. And I'm like, okay, sure. I go home. I have the copy. I'm like, I'm just going to install it. All right, I'll load it up now that it's installed, make sure that everything's going good here or whatever. And it was like 4 a.m. It was just one of those perfect kind of strategy experiences that I don't think I get quite the same out of any other type of game. Like Advance Wars has definitely done that to me in a real bad way. Civ has done that to me, and Sim Golf was kind of one of those first experiences of just like all of a sudden my life is gone, and it is that increment of time of like you can play an action game. And it's like, well, I got to get through this chapter. And a chapter in an action game can be, several hours, can be, half hour, 45 minutes, or much longer than that. A turn is nothing. A turn seems like, oh, I did this, and this in this turn.
One more turn, right?
When it's really, that turn was maybe 5 minutes, and then suddenly you did 20 turns.
Right, and it's like we always talk about it as it's like a big system of gears where it's like small gears which turn bigger gears, which turn bigger gears, and there's
Right.
always like 7 things about to happen. And you're like, well, okay,
Like, oh, I gotta-
Here's a
if
small
I
one,
keep going,
and the
I can
medium
do
one,
this thing.
and the big one. And on Sim Golf, that's actually I love hearing that because Sid and I were the only 2 programmers on Sim Golf. That was like 2002 or
2002, 2001.
2001. Actually,
Yeah.
2001. Yeah. It was like Sid still programs most of his
11
games.
years ago.
My God,
I know. Sorry, I just had to.
That, man.
The weight
Dramatic.
of
I
that.
like
Yes. Yeah, I thought
I
that was
don't even
important.
want to think about that.
So you and Sid.
Yes, Sid and I were the only two
Oh,
programmers
yeah.
on that. Yeah.
Adam has texted me, "Oh God, what are you saying?" Question mark.
Bravo.
Wow, that was quick.
That was pretty
I
good.
got-
The Giant Bomb audience.
Too bad my
is
phone's
a
about to die because I
ferocious
really
bunch.
want. I have 3% battery life, so he's gonna be extra screwed when this dies.
Oh yeah, there's nothing you can do about that.
Since we are diverging, I got a text from some guys on the dev team saying, "Dude, you're on my TV. Tell Ryan and Patrick hi from us." So we have some
Hey.
fans.
Hello.
Hi to
wanna
the rest
say
of the
hi.
Firaxis team. We're
Yes.
excited for your game. I hope it's
Anyone
good.
else got any text messages?
I got some from my girlfriend earlier. Sorry, my fiance,
Your what?
my Beyonce.
Thank you.
I don't got any.
I got 2.
What do you got there? What's going on your text messages, Chris Tilton?
Text messages
My
right
girlfriend is making bow ties that she wants me and the cat to wear.
All right, Chris Hilton wins.
Wow.
All right, no more text messages.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now I'm trying to tell him that everything's fine, but my phone is not delivering it. So
Yeah, because everything isn't
he's
fine.
probably naked
He's
in the
gonna show
street
up.
lighting
He is
cars
gonna
on fire
show up.
now. Like,
Yeah.
what is happening?
Well, the Kings didn't win the Stanley Cup yet, so wait till tomorrow.
Not quite.
Yeah,
yet.
the riots tomorrow. Yeah, there you go.
I was obviously here for the fun Lakers championship last year. Was that last year?
It was the year before that, I think.
Was it?
So remember?
Yeah, that was the. Because that was the year of the Scott Pilgrim party. Because that's what I was at before I had to walk through the aftermath of.
Okay.
So I think that was 2 years ago.
But you weren't with us
No.
then.
I was at G4.
Okay, all right. I should use you as my
Yep.
my
I am your
delineator.
guide. Where was I working at the time?
Yeah, yes. I can just tell from year to year. I was like, okay, he was working there. That was 2008.
Uh-huh,
Clearly. 2009, somewhere else.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I don't expect that to be quite the same. I mean, I know it's hockey and the Stanley Cup and everything else, but like the Lakers, that's just such another level for LA.
Well, there was the nightmare scenario where, as of a couple weeks ago, it could have been Lakers and Kings.
I know. Oh, thank God. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Not happening. I mean, I really don't care one way or the other about basketball. If the Lakers want to win every single championship for eternity, I don't care. It's just that they always do it during E3, and it's a personal. You guys know it's a nightmare. It's insane in a way that E3 is already crazy enough. You don't need that.
Honking, cars on fire, whether they win or lose, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it goes rotten.
I would like to ask the listeners to stop tweeting Pez Radar. He's complaining about an aneurysm, which he's typing really well if he's having one.
For having an aneurysm.
Yeah,
Well, maybe
definitely.
he wants that blood
Maybe
vessel.
he's using
actually
Siri.
pops.
Siri, text Mikey. I'm having an aneurysm.
Siri doesn't work for shit for me.
I don't have a Siri. I have a 4 with a cracked back. That was really great. Thanks for coming, Mikey. I'll show myself out. Like,
I'm sorry. So let's get back to 2001. Jake.
Oh, yes.
Working on Sim Golf with
Sim Golf.
Sid.
And Sid, who he still writes most of the code, gameplay code wise, he writes
Yeah.
most of the gameplay code in all of his games still today. So he's not one of the guys who he's never going to become like Mr. Big Picture creative, like sit back and tell you what to do. He's definitely still
In the trenches.
yes, he's going to write code until the day I die. I'm not even going to say.
You're pretty confident Sid Meier's going to outlast you.
There's no question.
Yeah.
There's no question. He's still. I mean.
you keep talking all that shit about all those game companies. I'm not sure you last this night.
I know.
Like,
I won't last very long, but this is why Sid doesn't get in trouble. He doesn't say dumb stuff like I do. But
agreed.
yeah, he's the kind of guy who he works really long hours. Like we're in the middle. We're grinding right now. I mean, XCOM's in a grind right now. We're definitely crunching. Which when we talk about E3 demos, for us, it's a different experience because it's inconvenient because we really need to focus on finishing the game. But it's more convenient because our game is finished, and so building an E3 demo out of an almost finished game is much easier, but it's also like something nobody has any time for. But yeah, so recently I'm there pretty late, of course, and Sid is he's always there. No matter what he's working on, no matter what stage of project it is, he's always there late. So just, last week we were there talking until like midnight because he's just there, always working late.
So you're saying that when he puts his name on something, that's not just like that's
No.
for real. That's not just
I know, yeah. People always view it as like, oh, he's
this weird ego thing, power trip thing, but it's
like a
No.
Tom
It's like
Clancy.
It's
kind
so
of thing.
ironic too, because that he's like the furthest thing from
No, he
having an
has no
ego.
ego.
He
He
just
has no
walks
ego.
around like the most pleasant man.
He's
and
the
so
nicest
humble.
human being. Yeah.
And you should see him in the design meetings. He just listens. He's like, I think he's a master filter. He takes everything in, and he knows how to filter brilliantly.
Yeah.
And he loves hearing input from everyone. And so it's interesting to hear people think he has an ego because of the branding stuff.
I mean, no, I saw him talk at GDC in 2008. I want to say,
Yeah.
and yeah, like you definitely got that sense just from his GDC talk of like, wow, this is just the most
no, he is
low
truly
key, down to
truly-
earth dude.
Exactly.
He is truly one of the most humble, nicest guys. In all ways, like I've never met a nicer guy. Like Sid Meier is just
Right.
yeah, he's amazing.
The only thing he could work on, sometimes he decides to turn on like this aura and glow around his head when he walks, and it just comes off as a little
Right.
too like he
it's
thinks
annoying.
he's
It's very bright.
you know better than the rest of us. But this halo,
Everybody
sometimes
thinks
is
we're gonna
around him.
drink. Everybody thinks we're probably a cult now, don't they? We're like sitting here lavishing praise on our overlord. I know, totally. He's wonderful. He don't hurt.
Meyer is a wonderful human being.
We're about to move to Waco to this place called Branch Davidian, so it's gonna be great. Yeah, boom. 1993 Branch Davidian joke. Nailed it.
Keeping it
Topical.
nice and
Yeah.
fresh here.
Right. I like
I'm
that.
so excited for Jurassic Park to come out this year.
Now you've got.
So now if you had said next year, then the 3D version is coming out. So you actually would have had
Oh my god.
multiple layers of a topical.
They're
tool.
making. Does the 3D?
You just correct my
Independence Day
joke.
and Jurassic Park come out 3D next year.
He's saying that there was a
Yeah, it was good.
a possible plausibility.
You
Let's
hipstered
workshop
my
it.
joke. No, that was good. That was good. But I'd maybe whatever.
It's
Put
you
in the
know,
bank for next E3.
it doesn't. They're not all
I'll
winners,
practice.
Mikey.
I'll
Sometimes you
practice.
gotta workshop them. Take them to an open mic and see how the crowd reacts.
That's pretty much how I do demos.
were
Like,
you
Borderlands
about, were you
2,
about to
that's
try to
like-
talk into that beer bottle?
Which one do I do?
Yeah, you can't drink the.
Which one treats you better?
No one
Beer
drink the
or
microphones.
microphone?
Don't
dang.
drink the
That's been like
microphones.
3 days.
Whatever you do. So how is the reaction? I guess you guys are pretty far along for XCOM at this
Yes.
point.
Yes.
And
pretty far along.
what can be interesting, I think, at E3 sometimes, at least for it seems for devs, is getting that kind of broad feedback from folks seeing the game, playing the game, and saying stuff. I have to imagine though that you guys are just at the point where it's like this game is what it is. If
Right.
if you guys have
What's
like
your date? What's
People
your-
are like, hey,
sweeping-
it's October 9th, and
Well,
so
we're September 18th, so technically
right,
We
we're
have
a little- we're a
we have
little
plenty of
bit
time
earlier.
compared
right,
to you.
right.
Just saying.
I'm just saying, we're also way more.
did you just
done.
hipster his release date?
You did. You totally hipster the.
Well, he's
You know what? I like the
apparently
earlier
in, like,
dates.
vertical
The earlier
slice,
dates
and
were
Sony's
better.
like
Yeah.
doing themselves right now. So I figured
I like games when they came out earlier.
yeah.
Whatever.
September's pretty much like the
October's
best month.
good, but September is.
When is The Last of Us? Did you guys announce?
We have not announced.
Oh, okay.
So, again, that's
2014.
one of those questions that get me fired.
2015.
Right.
I'm just
keep
so
that
excited
ways.
myself.
I think really it's the answer that gets you fired, not the question.
That's true.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
Unless you were to suddenly start asking, like, when's my game come out?
No, I'm pretty sure we're all getting fired
That
tomorrow.
call
Seriously, there's a
Giant bombs
Just a
bombing
bunch
No,
of
no,
fire.
here's the microphone, guys. Yeah, we're done.
This was a terrible idea.
This is why we change guests, because the guests can't
That's
come
right.
back.
yeah, let's just all start talking like
They got
that, man,
nothing
because
to
we got
do.
nothing else better.
Yeah, everyone else that was on here last year has since been fired.
Right.
So that's
Moved on is what we call it.
they've sunsetted.
Actually, wait, hang on. Because I was talking to Steptoe the other day, and he was, I don't know, I'm like, actually, hang on, how many people don't work where they were from last year?
Let's see here. I think Steptoe's probably just about the
David
only
Jaffe.
Oh,
last week's
Jaffe.
Sleep Play.
Oh,
one. Jaffe's
this is
supposed to
about
show
get
up
weird.
at some point.
Like a
Jaff-
magician. Like
Yes, like, there will be a puff of smoke in the middle of the room.
If he comes up and starts
Jaffe
doing
will be
magic,
here, and he'll go,
magic, I'm
"Fuck
calling
you
Randy.
all," and then he'll
Yeah.
run out.
But first he'll get wrong information and go to the old house.
Oh no! I hope that doesn't happen. Yes, no. Last year he showed up for the live show and was given bad information and ended up on the other side of town, and it was
That's bad.
a fun little nightmare. This time there are no competing addresses. There's just the one. So
I just heard it was next to a gross strip club, and I'm walking down the street.
That's the
Turned on
taco
all of it,
truck
and
we
I
were
was like,
talking about
oh
earlier.
my god, that looks like a 7-Eleven they turned into a strip club.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, what's the?
Don't be too specific.
Oh, right, yeah.
Good point.
Wow,
Good
yeah.
point.
Dave Javi's already he's tweeting. He's tweeting where he's going.
Yeah, David Jeffy just dropped a pin on Google Maps. It's like, go in here, guys.
Come on by.
I put it on Pinterest.
Pinterest.
Yeah.
It's a good imitation.
Dude, I
of
know
David Jeffy's
I'm
voice.
getting married, so the fiance has discovered Pinterest and is now that's
Do you have a Pinterest account?
no
Fiance.
no. Because it's her, like, you know, I'll come home and like shoves her iPod Touch in my face and says, "Look at this from Pinterest."
What is the? How does that website? My wife's using it too, and I don't even understand how it works. What is the appeal?
Pinteresting.
It's like it's sharing.
It's where females can go and
know. That's good.
point out all of the things they would love to do but are too lazy to do.
I'm not going
Text
to.
that.
I'm not going
Text
to.
that to your girlfriend.
Oh no!
I was like, I don't see a wedding
I'm not
ring,
touching
so
that.
I'm done.
The views of these guests do not represent those of the Giant Bomb staff.
I would imagine so.
It was fine when he was like, everybody sucks but me. Now you're shitting on Pinterest. Now, guys,
That's too
seriously?
far.
No,
That is a
no,
bridge too
he's
far,
shitting on
sir.
Sorry,
Women.
all of Nintendo.
Right.
Well, well,
Sorry for
How
asking.
dare you?
I saw Wada today in the flesh, which
yeah.
Did you guys make
was exciting. A little bit,
Yeah, okay. You know,
just like some light groping.
that's fine.
Mostly,
That makes
but,
sense. It really is.
Well, you know, he wasn't at the press conference, and so I had thought
Laying low.
like maybe is he just not here? Is he just in Japan? Like his stuff.
I hope they came out there like, actually, he's just playing.
He's the one that said at the end of the press conference, "Thank you for coming." I don't know if you noticed that.
No,
Yeah.
really.
Like when the press conference is over, and then like, "Thank you for coming." That was very clearly his voice.
Oh wow, no! I think I was watching on Spike TV, so it cut away. I think before that
yeah,
actually
but like
happened.
in the actual press conference itself.
Wow.
Like, "Thank you for coming." It was like, what? Wada never came out on stage. What,
Really,
he just says
really
thank
quick
you?
segue question.
Yeah.
Did you guys happen to be outside the Staples Center right out after the Nintendo conference? Because they're either
no.
like casting or there was an LMFAO music video.
I think they are doing a concert or something because
it
there
looked-
is a
there was
million
a lot of-
people walking around in
Right, but
every
there was
day.
a
I'm
lot of
shuffling
children,
shirts.
and this is really weird, and this is true. And I was like gonna take pictures, and then I was like, oh, I can't take pictures because that will look weird. There's all these like little girls and little boys
I saw
wearing
some of that
shirts
too.
that say "sexy, sexy, sexy." That's all they say: sexy, sexy, sexy. That's the whole shirt. And it was like 20 or 30 different
I saw some.
parents, and I'm like, so that like you like care to comment on what the fuck? Serious, and
I will say
they were all just dancing, having a great time. I'm
that
like, okay.
I think it was Dan Reichert from Game Informer on Twitter said it best because there was still like I was just leaving the convention center tonight, going past the Staples Center, and saw a bunch of that as well. He said that. It looked like there was a bunch of hookers from no. It looked like there was a bunch of hookers from 16-bit video games hanging out in front of the convention center. Turns out there was an LMFAO show. So.
I accidentally
That sounds compelling.
wrecked him today. So they were shooting a Game Informer thing, and I didn't realize I didn't see the camera. Mm-hmm. So I walked up, and I mean, we all know Dan Reichert. That guy like bleeds beef. Like
Yeah.
that. He's very much like I'm American, and American boys like these. So I walk up, and I'm like, they're filming, and he's mic'd, and I go, "Are you buying a vegan grilled cheese sandwich?" And he got so embarrassed. He's like, "No, this isn't vegan." I'm like, "It says vegan right there. It says it right there."
Did you like just throw it away immediately?
They're filming.
No, he actually took a big bite, and it looked really good. But yeah, I was happy to
vegan-
hurt the Dan Reichert visage.
Just his
The
American soul.
I eat wrestling for breakfast, Dan Reichert.
I had a suplex for lunch, and
Little
then
Ted DiBiase on the side.
some Skinnerd played.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know where this conversation was going anymore.
Honestly,
we were
this
talking
one,
about- I
don't know either.
This one's all over the place. I like it.
Sid
I like
Meier
it.
is
Well, I mean,
Jesus, apparently.
you know, I am curious. Like, given that you guys, can't take those, the game's almost done, so
Yes,
you're getting all
yes.
this feedback.
Sure.
So how do you guys process that in terms of we can't implement these some specific feature that fans are like but they haven't played the game yet, but like you must process that feedback and like think about what can we do to address that, even though we can't change the design of the game in any sort of
Sure.
broad
Can I
strokes.
rephrase your question as a developer?
Absolutely.
Because we're like waiting E3 feedback is this thing. And I'm actually curious, do you guys have like focus testing, internalized focus testing and stuff?
Definitely.
Because that's going to be a million. Like, people are like, dude, this part of your game sucked. And they just run
Exactly.
off.
I mean,
It's
that's what I was going to say to answer your question. I mean, we've been doing user testing, internal testing, external testing well before we were even announced. And Jake will tell you, I mean, Jake really is one of the greatest fans of XCOM, and we have a lot of developers on the team who
I am.
He is.
I have a card.
He's ranked. We have a lot of developers on the team that also are humongous fans. Like, they're about as big of fans as you could find, just like the folks that you would see posting on the message boards. So we've had these guys actively developing the game, involved in the prototyping, giving the sort of feedback that we're not too surprised to see after we've been announced. With that said, you see little things here and there that you're like,
Right.
can we make this happen?
I have the benefit slash, like, I'm the benefit slash, it's kind of a curse. I am also a programmer as well. So in the SID model, our designers are also programmers. And so then a lot of times, which is a nightmare for Garth sometimes, people give me feedback late and I'm like, I can change that. And Garth's like, no. Right.
Exactly.
I'm like, well, we could just turn it completely over right now.
Right. And Jake will tell me, no, that won't break. That's
You're
not
like in the
gonna
middle of CERT and trying to change
That's
stuff.
right.
Right.
Basically, they just pry it out of your hands at some point. So, and that's typically the way it goes at Firaxis. It reaches a certain point where it's like, and this is the point we're at where, at Firaxis, the lead designer is the project lead for the bulk of the title. Like, normally I'm the project lead and I say, oh, this is what we're doing, this is what we're focused on, this is what's important. But at some point you have to transition, right? I can't be the lead because I don't give a shit about what the date is, right? So, but somebody should, and so I'll be like, oh,
That's an
no,
important thing.
right? That's good feedback. We should change that. But at some point, Garth, we transition leadership to where Garth is like, no.
So you're making me the bad guy to all the giant bomb fans. I'm the guy that makes the game
bad
quality
guy.
suffer. I
You
see
are
how
the
it
bad
is.
guy.
Yes,
Right.
of course.
So yeah, eventually it transitions, and then Garth,
You guess they're drawing the line and said, hey, we'd
course.
like to do that.
Right.
and it's
But
very.
we also have to hit a
We
date.
had this the other day, and it's very galling for me to go. I go into his office, and I have to be like, hey, I kind of think it's important that we change this thing. Like, before I'd be like, we're changing it, but now I'm kind of like, hey, Garth, can we?
You got like your hands in your pockets.
Right, I'm kind of like, I'm like, can we just like?
So I was thinking, you tell me.
Do you,
You tell me what you
usually
think.
like kick a can around the office? Just like,
Somehow the theme's all
Bats
like,
his eyelashes.
And Garth's like,
got this
I don't
special
think that's a
beer.
good idea.
I don't like it. You should take.
what are you listening to on your headphones there? Oh, the Charlie Brown Christmas soundtrack. Christmas time. Is that playing in your head all the time?
Yes. At this
No, but
point, it is.
It is. It's been interesting because Jake's a phenomenal project lead, and it's the last. This final push to finalization has been an interesting transition. We keep joking that we're going to hate each other. What do we have? Like another 3 weeks
Going
left.
to.
You're free to make out over me.
We've had a couple of blow-ups already.
Yeah, we
I'm
have.
not saying, like, we were at PAX, and we were drinking, of course, which is not a good idea.
Which we're
But I
doing
don't
right
even-
now, but continue.
But I don't even remember what we were arguing about, but it was something, and I don't know how it ended, but I was just like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I like stormed off like a big
Stormed out of
lady.
the
I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then I just pranced out of the room.
Why are you written and acted by someone on the show Dynasty in
don't
this
know.
story? Like,
did you throw
all
down your white
designers-
glove on the
Delta
table?
Bird
Look,
show up,
all
like,
designers have some dynasty in them. We are absolutely.
single greatest quote of all time.
Yeah.
If you
It's
don't,
so
would you
true.
like some? Ooh. So Jake, as someone who has long-standing affection for XCOM,
Yes.
and then having an opportunity to work on XCOM,
Yeah.
what was for you like some of the core stuff that you? I mean, obviously there's kind of broad stroke stuff as
Sure.
far as like what the structure of XCOM is, how the game flows. That is to a certain extent kind of set that you would
Yeah,
kind
sure,
of have to
of course.
kind of want to honor. But were there any like specific details that you were like, we fucking have to hit this? There's this thing that I love about these games that I want to make sure that our games have.
Yeah, and part of that was also, I mean, it's weird to take a game that's that old,
Yeah.
and visualize it today.
Was that
And there-
94?
94, and there are a lot of when you go in that space, you in '94 you would fill in all the holes with your imagination, and then now we're in this. Now we have to actually fill them in for real. We have to say like, look, guys are going to animate now. Guys are going to like. There's so much more things that we can show. Like, how do we show those?
You were like animation, next generation,
Right.
Color,
They're like,
color graphics.
what things are we going to add?
CGA.
A camera, some sort of camera that moves in the world. I know that's how I talk.
This is a camera.
Right. A camera. Now I've turned into an old British guy. I don't know why. We're going to add a camera.
No, it's fine. Always, throwing the camera away.
So I think that like filling in those holes that they were sort of like filled by the player's imagination. There are a lot of things that we pushed, like so your soldiers, you form an emotional connection to them, and you can lose them obviously in XCOM. And so I just wanted to push that, and we've done just a lot of things along those lines. The fact that you can see them when you actually go back to your base, you see them. They're like talking with each other. They're playing pool. We wanted to just sort of really strengthen that connection that these are people that you care about. They earn nicknames at a certain level. They always have their country's flag on their back, and even when you lose them, you can go to the memorial in the base, which is like a part of the bar, and it'll tell you, like, it'll list their names, how many missions they went on, what operation they died on, and you'll start to see like pictures filling in on the wall behind them. There's like bagpipe music playing. It's
Shot
very-
glasses.
Shot glasses stack up the more guys who die, and so like we just wanted to like push those sort of like
Keep
emotional
going.
connections.
Man, yeah, you guys are being manipulative.
Yes, yes, right.
But from the original, though, you had a laundry list of stuff that we needed to maintain from the spirit of the
sure.
original, which
And
was
it's actually
all
really
the classic stuff.
It's really hard to be a designer and also be a really hardcore fan, because I made straight up mistakes designing where I just couldn't let some stuff go. I just couldn't. Like, I would say like, no, we need to keep this in there, and then people, against my better judgments, are like, why are we holding on to this so much? And it was, there were elements where I was so nostalgic about the original that, that's always a very hard place to be in.
Was there any counterexample of that? Was there anything that you took from the original XCOM that you knew you wanted to fix or change?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that
I made it a first-person shooter.
That's right. I said
And we all know how that turned out.
turns.
We don't.
The
In fact,
How far is The Last of Us in development again?
what's that date? You said earlier it was November something.
You're not going to be on the floor tomorrow. Where did he go? Dick, move.
Ryan
To be
Davis.
clear, he has not said a single thing at all. He has,
Oh, now it's fine.
no.
I think we just say dates and watch if his face changes at all. He seems like
How red? How close?
he seems like such a nice guy. I think that,
Every Tuesday between now and Thanksgiving. All right, let's go.
go.
That's a lot of Tuesdays, bro.
So you were saying,
Yeah, I mean, there were certainly some things that I knew in terms of, obviously there were things like the UI, things from 20 years ago. But part of it was at a certain point the game became really monotonous, really difficult, because it sort of exploded in such a way that it was really fun early, and then it sort of becomes this big, heavy thing that you find yourself sort of just like going through the motions at the end of the game. I mean, I've beaten the game plenty of times, but to the people who have beaten that game, I always have like a lot of respect, because it became a marathon after a certain point. So yeah, that was certainly something where like making the end game sort of ramp up instead of like tail off.
Well, that's interesting, because I think it really takes a hardcore fan to obsess about what the end game is like versus just how it opens with. Because most people just play video games for like the first 30 to 50%.
So, yeah, I have sort of a segue, sort of on that, but...
is this one good? Is this
It's best if you usually announce your segue.
I always announce my segues.
It's two in a row.
Yes, and then when it's a good one, everyone's like,
All right, okay, all right.
And is this one going to involve
Rubbing my
16-bit
hands
hookers?
together here in
No.
anticipation
I
for
think
the
they're 8-bit.
segue.
8-bit hookers, whatever.
Yeah, well, that's me, man. You got to get used to that. No,
his segues used to be David Jaffe.
yeah, somehow I just bring him in through the roof. No, but your passion really was awesome. It's really great to hear, and I'm curious, starting with you, around if you could take something like a passionate game from your childhood and teens and bring
I
it
love
back
this
now.
question.
I mean, what would you do, dude?
Garth.
My most nostalgic game.
Karnov.
That's a great one, actually. That's a great one.
I referenced Karnov in an interview earlier today.
segued
That is
out of
the
my
most
own
bizarre.
goddamn
Karnov is bizarre as hell. Karnov's very bizarre. I love that game.
Podcast for tonight.
Thanks for coming.
No,
We just segued into a segue. I
man,
think
Karnov's a
that's
good
a
one.
double negative. We're done.
I'm a writer. I can do that. I'm a semicolon all over this shit.
Well, don't.
Speaking in all seriousness for 1 second, I absolutely am a huge fanatic of the Blood Omen Legacy of Kain series.
Wow.
The original one
Yeah.
on PlayStation. The
Crystal
dark
D.
Zelda. It was like playing Legend of Zelda, but it's super mature and gritty and bloody.
Oh, wait, no, I'm
version.
sorry. It's Silicon Knights.
The
I'm
original.
sorry?
Well, then the other ones were developed by.
It was Crystal D.
It was
after
Crystal
the first
D,
one.
Silicon Knights. I believe Amy Hennig worked on that, right?
She did, yeah.
Yeah.
And Richard
Wow.
Marchand.
Yeah, the story
Yeah,
in that
I'm-
series is brilliant.
I'm a huge fan of hers just because I respect
Yeah, she's
that
awesome.
mythology.
She introduced me to the word douche nozzle in email to the entire company. She's fantastic.
Wow,
Yeah.
impressive.
Was it in reference
Again,
to
a
you?
writer, clearly.
Revealing the date of
A
the
wordsmith.
game. I think she's going to have that word for you after she listens.
And it was Nosgoth was just a phenomenal world. Phenomenal world that the transition to 3D was a little bumpy. There was some cool stuff. There were some lower ones, but that original Blood Omen, besides the loading screens from into your inventory,
Yeah.
was a phenomenal experience. It's one of my favorite of all time. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right,
Cowboy.
cowboy.
Oh, me? Well,
Unless you want to bounce it.
I mean, I'm a
Just
programmer.
don't
I
say,
like
yeah,
breaking shit.
Yeah.
And like, I'm a bit of a haze, but the first thing that comes to mind, like things I'm really nostalgic about, was just really abusing the potion system in Morrowind and creating jump potions that let me
That's
fly.
not. Unless you're 14, that's a little too new, man. You got to reach back a little bit.
Was old, yeah.
Speaking as a 14-year-old,
I know, right?
This crunches.
What's the
twists
first
some lines.
console you
I
had?
happen to go to a lot
The
of
first console
parties
I had
with
was a PS2.
14-year-olds, okay?
I think I saw you at.
You're a young man.
PS2.
Yeah, I was a PC gamer before that.
Oh, I see.
Okay. What was
Yeah.
your first computer?
It was like a
Commodore.
286.
All right.
I had an IBM
Respect.
XT monochrome monitor.
Yeah.
Straight up. Anyway, so that okay.
So
He
that's-
just hipstered you on PC gaming.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna, by the way,
it's gonna happen
is
every-
it-
every
are
time.
We're aware of the running theme now.
Right, yes.
I'm gonna hipster Ariel all over this.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so
We need our
okay.
cleaning deposit back, Mikey. Come on.
All right, yeah, all right. Let's go. What do you got?
All right,
Maniac,
Mikey's running this now. I'm going to take off. I'll see you guys later.
Sorry, that happens, man. That happens.
No. I appreciate.
I was running the question.
Dude. No, I
You got it back
help,
after this.
help me lift, man. It's already been a long damn week, so
You got
I
all the good
appreciate
headphones
it.
and the microphone. Like, I get something.
Yeah. You get a spot on the couch.
Free beer is pretty good.
Free beer and
Yeah, I
get
got
to
to
sit
cuddle with the
between.
Firaxis guy.
All the segues you could ask for,
Like 3.
hogging all of them.
Leaving no segues for anyone else. Chris Tilton.
I would. Maniac Mansion was
that's
a
good.
favorite of mine. I didn't play the PC. I played the NES version. I had the earlier copies that let you put the hamster in the microwave.
That's pretty
and
awesome.
I
You
played that game so much.
Microwave in Duke Nukem for. All right, never mind.
But I just want to add one little thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to remake a Final Fantasy game, I'd much rather Final Fantasy 6 than 7.
All right.
Yeah.
I have no opinion about Final Fantasy
Dude,
games, so.
is it weird that I would totally remake 2, Super Nintendo 2, which is I guess 4 or 5. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when they went to the moon at the end, I was like, this is the shit. This is my jam. I just that for me was a moment with Palamaporum and like the guy that cast Meteor. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I
Final
just liked
Fantasy
his
6
reaction.
ruins the entire world.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
I didn't say Final Fantasy 8. Come on. Like I said old one.
Yeah, I want to change my answer. The LucasArts adventure games. I love those. Like, those was my first exposure to gaming. The Indiana Jones and Day of the Tentacle.
Day of the Tentacle, yeah.
Tentacle,
like
sure.
the-
I remember
this-
one time
fantastic.
Randy Pitchford ranked his Indiana Jones movies, and he was like, "Oh yeah, they go in this order: Raiders, Last Crusade, Temple of Doom, The Search for Atlantis, LucasArts game,
Fate of Atlantis.
and then Fate of Atlantis, and then below that was Indy 4,
Yeah.
and it was like way below.
I would-
was like,
I
you
would
know what?
swap
I actually
Crusade
agree with
and
that.
That's fair.
I'm okay with Temple of Doom. I know a lot.
No,
of,
I do.
Yeah.
I think that's better. That's better than Last Crusade. I would say
Really?
Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom's got Temple of Doom is definitely quirkier. They played it a lot safer with Last Crusade, but
Yeah, Last Crusade was
I'm
a
a
little.
sucker
It
for
was
Sean
fun,
Connery.
but a lot.
And Temple of Doom was just the one that I watched the most. I'm
had short
getting
rounds,
claw
so
hands
far.
from Will Smith. Will Smith, how much time do you guys got? Oh, okay, there you go.
Oh.
How much time do you guys got? You good to hang out? I don't want to waste everyone's time.
It's in there.
Okay.
Back there. We're good.
Max, how you doing?
Awesome.
Fantastic.
This is like the space shuttle in here.
In that it's hot, or there's really brilliant people.
Or
in
there's
the
a
room.
lot of dudes crammed into
Right.
one room.
That's probably also
It
that.
smells like mad.
Apollo 13, where it's like we have to get this round tube into the square box, but we only have these parts.
Which
Right.
one of us is the round tube, and which one of us is the square box? That's what I want.
It's all on that sofa. That's all I'm saying.
Goodness gracious.
Firaxis Gearbox sandwich.
So
a Firax box.
I've gotten Mikey, I've gotten some requests over Twitter. You have built up, I think, an acceptable level of intrigue over the box on the table here.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, he didn't go though. We need.
I would. Mega Man 2 is my favorite game of all
Oh.
time, right alongside
Which one?
Deus Ex. Mega Man 2.
Nice.
Dude,
And I don't think Mega Man has gotten sort of a proper 3D
It was-
realization. I think they've been making the same game over and over again.
The bubbles with the boss. I swear to God, I went through every weapon, and I was always like, it's not the bubbles.
So they can do it to Metroid, they can do it to Mega Man. I'd
Yeah.
love to see someone do something with the sort of the structure of Mega Man and kind of figure that out. And
Well,
sort
you
of
didn't
structure
like
of
Mega
Mega
Man
Man's
Legends?
brilliant.
That's cool. So we want to open the Packer
No,
box.
I did not
I'm
care for
kidding.
it.
You like
Yeah,
Legends,
it's
Mega
not
Man
good.
Legends, or no?
And I'm just gonna.
It's all right.
I'm
but
gonna,
I
I'm gonna
certainly
add to
didn't take it
this
far
real
enough.
quick. My favorite game of all time is Super Mario Brothers 3. But what I would
Nice.
I would not want to remake Super Mario Brothers 3. I would just like to make a game and call it Super Mario Brothers 4. And to just forget Super Mario World. Like, I will not listen to the arguments about how Super Mario World is better. That doesn't matter to me. I never had a SNES. I had a Nintendo, and then I had a Game Boy, and then I went into PC games. So SNES was kind of a skipped thing for my childhood. So I can recognize that yes, in a lot of ways, obviously Super Mario World is a deeper, bigger, crazier game than 3. But
a very different type of game.
Man, I played the hell out of Super Mario Brothers 3, and I would love to see a game that is just here is the next iteration for that.
I feel like they would need to release another The Wizard movie, like to go
Red
like
Savage.
with
Just
the
get
kid
Savage's-
fell, like
Savage's
$30
kid.
and sucking dick for crack on the street, but he's still like,
Oh, and we're back. We are back.
Man.
We are back.
Gearbox.
sorry,
Classy studio. Classy.
Sally.
All right,
Let's figure out this box.
So,
All right,
so
yeah, the
Mikey,
mystery
Open the
you
box.
went to Michael Pachter's Wedbush party, which is a big fancy to-do. And
I was not having a good time until I sat down with Robert Koo, and
Oh.
it was like he was making sure like all my medical stuff, all my health stuff. He remembered everything that had happened. And he was talking to me, and it was like I was like ready to cry. Like, guy's the nicest guy ever in the world,
awesome.
and I can't say nice enough stuff. And then I grabbed a bag, and
There's a gift
Oh,
bag
this
on
is
the
the
way
gift
out.
bag.
There's a
This is
gift
the gift
bag
bag.
from the Wedbush party. We don't know
So-
the contents of it. We're going to look at it now.
Pachter's getting so much shit for me.
Whatever. He was here last night trolling NeoGaf all night goddamn long, so
Okay, well, so let's see. I think this is gonna be so sad when this is not anything.
I know it's going to be real underwhelming. I love it. I can't wait.
Can you hold my
Do
microphone?
you want to
please?
take guesses or anything? I mean,
Oh yeah.
Gaming mouse.
okay.
Like a raisin?
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
well, what's your
Razor Game
guess?
Mouse, that's a good.
Yeah,
that's a good
what's your
sticker.
guess?
That's like, you can get those in bulk. It seems like a nice
Well,
gift.
okay,
It's not too
so-
expensive.
I can see a little bit. Oh, there's stuff.
A fancy USB key that doubles as something else.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I can see like a little computer through here. It's something with that, and
All right. Well, let's stop guessing and let's get into it, I guess.
Like Turtle Beach headphones.
Human head. Human head. Oh.
Oh, they are fancy gaming
Yeah,
headphones.
very nice.
They're bright green
Yeah.
and
It's
black.
actually really important. I don't know how good these are. I don't know if these are good, so I'm gonna do something real quick. Hang on.
Yes. $100 to the first customer.
We know.
Mikey's trying to give it to Will Smith. Tested's own Will Smith.
They're okay.
They're okay.
Michael Pachter's gift bag.
Your hands were up, and then they were just in your pocket. It's like,
Will
Smith.
Quote. Michael Pachter's gift bag, just
Is
okay.
just okay.
Please retweet.
Says Will Smith.
Michael
How
Pachter,
do we not be mad
dot,
tonight?
just
Like-
okay.
Wedbush, just okay.
So you're not saying a buy rating on Wedbush right now?
I'm excited.
I am not on microphone. Do not ask me questions.
No, we can hear you when you yell like that.
Well, the good
I
part
follow
is
you
he
on
didn't
Twitter.
have
You're
to
in
buy
Midlife
that.
3
It was just
apparently,
given to
so-
him. So
That's my favorite thing about you. Any Will Smith tweet, like Men in Black and shit, you're just like retweet. So some poor dude who thought you were actually Will Smith gets some email in his inbox that's like Will Smith retweeted you being like, "Oh my God, I loved Men in Black 3," and they went around their entire day thinking, "Yeah."
Wow, Will
they went to
Smith
Starbucks and they're
retweeted
like,
me.
"Oh, I'm sorry, I talked to Will Smith today."
I do every 300.
Oh, is it that bad? Really?
That's when they get retweeted.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You keep
It's
counts?
still funny,
Been a
but
bad few weeks.
Let's stop talking to the guy that's not a mic. I see this is a fucking really bad idea. All
it's a pretty
told.
good idea. It's a pretty good idea.
Well, maybe we should
we
ramp up
rotate?
to a little rotation here. Yeah, Mikey, we didn't talk about anything with you, which is probably for the best.
It's true.
Alex would appreciate that we not.
Yeah,
What? Who?
Isn't that your guy?
What guy? Adam?
Adam.
No.
Well, Alex, too.
Clearly, they want me to talk about all the awesome shit we brought to
All right, quick plug.
E3.
What's Gearbox showing at E3? When are you coming out? You've
Okay,
got,
he gets like 30 minutes.
you get like
You had
8
30 minutes of
segues.
segues.
You didn't have many
You
segues.
chose to use your
segues.
time.
You had
I mean,
many
we-
segues.
we
You
had
had
enough
many
of the amount of
segues.
time.
I think that's fair. I don't know if we're actually in the same booth, so we're not really.
We are,
competing.
actually.
We're both at 2K.
No, we're all friends.
And if you, man, the setup
the-
you guys have, the booth you guys have with the statues and everything, which you had at PAX too, but man, it looks awesome. It looks really,
Yeah,
really
no,
awesome.
those are great. Yeah,
And,
so
and you've got that trailer that's just looping over there.
that trailer that
and
I made that I have to
blah, blah.
listen to all the time.
Right.
I was
That's
like,
drives
like
you crazy.
400
That
times,
thing's
and
awesome,
then
man.
PAX and E3, that trailer's just looping and driving me completely nuts. But yeah, so we got Borderlands 2 here playable. We got 2 different demos. One is the demo from PAX, which is really awesome. A lot of people haven't seen. Behind closed doors, there's actually a new demo, so a lot of new stuff. And yeah, we're ready to ship, man. September 18th, that game comes out,
Awesome.
and it's gonna be the biggest thing we've ever done by.
I think
far.
we've actually just stopped looking at Borderlands 2 because we saw it and we're like, yep,
So
we're in.
So I
Let's
gotta,
go.
Yeah, no, I get. Yeah, I feel it because I was talking to Dan Reichert again today.
Yeah.
I randomly bumped into him a lot. But yeah, so I'm walking to the Nintendo and Microsoft Hall, and I run into Dan. He's holding 2 Best of E3 nominations, and he was gonna bring us one. He was gonna go play it and make sure. And he goes, "Yeah, I was gonna play. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, obviously, like this is going to you.
Yeah.
And he's like, not even gonna go play. Like everybody, I think is just ready to get that game because I mean, wow, there's a lot of people in here.
No, the Marquis brothers have shown up. We have
Light.
we have a all-star cast here to rotate in here. So
Oh yeah, we gotta go soon. But
yeah.
yeah, so we got
Borderlands 2 is awesome. It's going to be awesome.
yeah,
It's coming out September 19th.
It's easily the best thing we've ever done. It's hilarious. It's awesome. It's fun. It's badass. It's great. And then we got Aliens: Colonial Marines on February 12th, which I think is a great date.
2013.
What?
2013.
Of next year. Well, it's
Yeah.
obviously not this year. I mean, if we're using our brains.
What could be 2014? Is it next gen? Is that why you're not
If
talking
you're,
about
if
it
you're
right
at
now?
E3 and you're like, dude, our game's coming out in 2014, you probably shouldn't be at E3. Because it's
So is Robert Bowling not here? He's got his game coming out in
I'm not-
2015.
I like Robert. He's a great
I
guy.
do too. No, I'm not talking shit.
He announced a game after making it.
I'm
opening, and I was
throwing
like, wow,
you-
that was really fast.
I'm throwing you under the bus on this one. You're saying that you shouldn't be here if you have a game coming out in 2014.
I don't know.
Mikey Newman, ladies and gentlemen.
Damn it!
For
We're talking about
Gearbox.
aliens. Aliens is so great. No, we brought.
I'm sorry, you were saying the date's great.
Yeah, well, it's great because it's 2 days before Valentine's Day. So obviously, the best thing to buy your girlfriend or boyfriend on Valentine's is a copy of Aliens: Colonial Marines.
So you are primarily focusing on aliens right now.
Yeah, I did a bit on Borderlands. I mean, that's mostly written by Anthony Birch, who's a genius. I hired him
Yeah.
out of the Hey Ash What You Playing stuff.
Yeah,
and
no.
he's been killing it. And I came in to write some stuff, mostly actually Scooter, oddly enough, because that's the character that I voiced in the game. So I know it a little bit. But no, yeah, we kind of tag teamed that, and he helped me with some of the alien stuff. But yeah, primarily I've been doing trailers and writing aliens and
So you've
championing things.
You've been immersed in aliens stuff. Thoughts on Prometheus, which is out this Friday?
I've seen Prometheus twice now,
Okay.
and I read the script like 7 months ago, and
Yeah.
I'm finally like able to talk about it because,
Uh-huh.
like, dude, 7 months.
yeah.
You don't.
It's
want
a long
that.
time to try and
Dude,
keep
'cause
that
I'm like,
bottled up.
Yeah, I'm the coolest nerd on earth, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm the Omega Man. I'm the last man on
I'm
earth.
trying to avoid all clips on that. Even at the Microsoft press conference, I turned my head down when they loaded up the clip of Prometheus.
I did the same thing. I went into the
Dude,
kitchen. and made
I
a
wanted
drink.
to like go talk to Damon Lindelof because I'm like, you've read it because you wrote it, right? Like, we should talk.
You're the only other person that I can
Somebody,
talk to about
please.
this.
Yeah.
So sweet on it. It sounds like.
Well, I mean, we're canonical, and there's only 4 other things. The only 4 other movies that those are all canon. So like, what's really weird recently was realizing like if they make more movies after us, like the timeline, they have to deal with everything we did.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot. Like we actually got to do a crazy amount of stuff that took a while to prove. Obviously.
So you're saying that this is the last Aliens thing. This is it. We've ended the Aliens canon because they're going to have to do so much after this.
We do a lot. Because one thing that really intrigued me going through the canon, by the way, I know fucking more about Aliens than probably anyone else on the planet right now. That live and breathe those movies for so long, including 3 and Resurrection. Also, here's a fun question: what do aliens eat? What do the xenomorphs eat?
Faces?
Nope.
You're setting up. You have an answer.
Metal?
No, I don't, because I would be an asshole if I answered it. That's my point. Actually,
metal?
I don't know.
Wait, so you're saying I shouldn't sit here and guess?
We shouldn't sit here.
No. Keep guessing.
Okay.
Carrots. No, I mean,
30 minutes of guesses.
They clearly have sustenance of some kind, but it's never answered in the movies, and they never even get to it. And
Well,
that's
see, now
really
I have
intriguing
to,
to me.
now I have to question. Now I have to
for-
question if they do eat, because
They do not.
if they ate, then they would have to shit, and there's never a scene where someone goes and picks up like Alien. She goes, "Yeah, they've been here, man." It's always like the blood
And then
dripping
Jeff
in
Goldblum
the.
walks out and goes, "Now that is one big pile
Well,
of shit."
Yeah.
maybe on
no,
the
it's-
cutting room floor somewhere. That sounds like a terrible scene. It really
so-
sounds like
It
an
really
awful
sounds like something
scene.
that Ridley Scott would push for. I
I
don't
did
know.
get that question about what color's an alien shit, and I'm like, we don't know because we don't know what they eat or how they survive.
Yeah.
Also, but here's a actual.
I would always assume that they were just like single use of just like they're created, they're born, and then they go until they wear out.
like zombies. No. Here's a bit of trivia. I'm guessing we have some aliens fans in here, right? All right.
Alien, but
Alien.
Only alien? Really?
No.
I was
Aliens.
just
Alien and aliens.
I think you have to pick a side in that debate.
I mean, like,
I've chosen this side.
Prometheus, is
I liked
the first
Prometheus
one.
before it came out.
Fuck that. Alien 3. What's up?
I did like Prometheus
You
before it
actually
came.
did like it when it came out.
Yeah,
Wow,
that was
that
cool.
is
7
ultimate.
months ago. No, so okay. Here's your bit of trivia. What is the one character that's introduced in Alien that is still alive at the end of Alien 3? I literally dropped the mic when someone tried to correct me on this question at PAX, and then I corrected them, and I dropped the mic and walked out. And then Sega later was like, "Did you drop the mic? You can't drop the mic." I was like, "I'll pay for it. Shut up." Like, that was cool.
All right, so what's the answer?
You no guesses at all?
No.
No, end of Alien.
The alien. I don't know. What?
The cat? I don't know.
You was the cat. That's correct.
Really? Okay.
Joe's the cat. It's the only,
It was the only thing I could think of that would possibly be
the only
alive.
character that's alive.
There we go. Fun fact from Mikey Newman.
Boosh.
Chief Griefer. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Chief
Creeper.
Creative
If you're
Champion
Adam right now, I'm Chief Creeper.
at
Creeper.
at
Ooh.
Gearbox
Yep.
and Cowboy John Bellamy repping Naughty Dog in a haze right now.
He was kind of repping Naughty Dog. It was kind of.
I just
Now
have to
you're
shut up. That's my
critiquing
only
his
job.
repping?
No. I mean, it was not
Mouthy,
the
Mikey. Good
repping.
Lord.
Yes. Welcome to Mikey. No, dude, it was the stuff earlier where I accidentally did not throw you a softball because I thought you were ready for that.
Wow. All right.
I thought you were good at this.
Um,
I thought you were good.
Last of Us looks real good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no shit.
It's
good to hear.
It
It's
looks awesome.
really good to hear.
It looks like the we've talked about it on the podcast at length in the past, and I think the term that we've used the most is it's the anti-Uncharted as far as the kind of the pacing and the tone of it. Of where Uncharted you were just chewing through enemies,
Gallivanting, basically.
yeah, exactly. Whereas this, it's like there's two guys, and you're like, fuck. Like,
exactly what we're going for.
creating that sort of tension, and it's it's an impressive kind of swing for you guys because it shows a kind of a breadth of skill there that is kind of unfair for other developers. So fuck
Yeah,
you
so
guys.
thanks a lot, buddy. Thanks a lot
You
for
were
that.
like, our game has animation.
Right.
So I think we're definitely like,
And then this guy's like, we're raising the bar. Well, fine.
And Chris Tilton,
Yes.
we barely got to talk to you,
Well, that's
but I didn't know
okay.
you were coming, so I think that's fair enough.
Just
showed up.
Advance notice you give is how much screen time you get.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll ballpark that. But you've been doing the music for the new SimCity.
For SimCity, yeah. Still experimenting, trying ideas and things, some of which
Is
may
there
be in the...
dubstep?
No, but there's
Lame. I'm out.
So what is the? I mean, I feel like there has to be some sort of like baseline inspiration or maybe sources. Is there anything in particular that you've been thinking about that, as far as kind of tone you want to evoke with that stuff?
Well, we started out definitely, and this is certainly still part of it, is sort of like a more kind of whimsical John Adams minimalist approach.
Okay.
Is maybe a way to categorize it. But also, a few weeks ago, I brought in a guitarist that said, bring all your weird, quirky stuff. And he just brought like 18 acoustic guitar-like things, and we recorded all sorts of weird stuff that should I think hopefully be in the, if they're showing demos for press and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a combination of kind of maybe like weird, fun, intimate, quirky, small groups.
Okay.
As well as bigger orchestra stuff when it's needed.
It seems like that's a matter of where your city is at, but
yes, you could certainly say the bigger the city, maybe
yeah.
the bigger the group of instruments playing is certainly one of the approaches we're playing
very
with
cool.
right now.
And so you're still very actively working on that stuff right now.
Yes, and I'm also working on some other things that I can maybe later this year be able to talk about.
Just say it right now.
I
Just tell me right now.
But I will say,
Chris,
I will say that is more than just music.
Let's all just say a secret at once. You say when Last of Us is coming out. You say what you're working on, and I'll tell you what Sid Meier
Eats. Shits.
Yeah. What, yeah.
Guess what? Xenomorphs don't eat, neither does Sid Meier.
And John will tell us the release date for Last of Us.
Yeah.
So.
Wait, isn't Sid Meier in XCOM? Didn't you say that?
I don't think I said
A
that.
character in XCOM? Like someone said that.
Or
Maybe.
Representative.
Or just
Perhaps.
Sid Meier, just not a real person,
Maybe.
just code that just exists.
Someone said that.
All right.
Maybe.
And when does Fringe come back?
This fall, September, the usual time.
I was just
fall
trying to give you
shows
a release
start.
date or some sort of date to plug here.
Yeah, I don't know when. I mean, it's late September is usually when Fringe comes back, and we'll be back for the 13 last episodes of the show, and then that'll be it. And then that'll probably be a break from TV for me for a while. So.
Okay. Very good. Doing anything else you want to give a shout here? You can't talk about it now.
Yeah, I think that's all.
All right,
that's all I
very
can
good.
say. Yep.
Well, we're going to take a quick break here from Giant Bomb's E3 2012 After Hours Live. Day one, we'll have a fresh group of guests here to talk about games and apparently anything else. So stick around. We'll be back in a few. And we are back here for our second segment here on day one of E3 2012, Giant Bomb's After Hour coverage.
That was just a lot of numbers right there.
I just threw it all out at
Like
you,
segment
Jeff.
2.
Segment 2, Part 3,
Day
Day 1,
one.
2012.
E3.
Divide by 2, E3, carry the 1.
Size 13s.
That's a big shoe.
That's right.
Nice Jordans that you have there, Jeff Gerstmann.
Thank you. I'm not going to wear them tomorrow. They're not comfortable enough.
So going back to the
I bought some
NBs.
NB Zips.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, those are ugly shoes. I know
They're
they're comfortable.
comfortable as fuck, so I
No,
don't care.
that's the way to live at E3. You don't have to wear a suit. Forget
Yeah.
suits.
You know, we came back from Pactor's party, so I don't need to wear fancy shoes anymore.
Oh, you had your dress sneakers on? for
Yeah,
Packers
I had my
party?
dress sneakers on.
Dressed for the occasion.
That's right.
Did you actually dress up for that? Did people dress up for that party? That was this.
I was, let's say, slightly underdressed for Pactor's party.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have David Jaffe,
Hello.
the newly independent
Yes.
David Jaffe.
Yeah.
How does that feel, sir?
Like not having insurance.
How is Cobra treating you,
Cobra's
sir?
treating me actually fine. We just got on it a couple days ago, and I went for my physical yesterday.
Yeah.
Before I drove up here, and I was like getting to the checkout or whatever it is, and I was oh shit, here it goes. You know what's again? She's like, oh, you're good, you're covered. I think I got away with something. I don't know, but yeah, it's weird. It's weird not to have that, but it's good. It's really good actually to be free.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And you've had some time at the show to actually play some stuff, which
I
we
did.
will, which we will get into.
Fair
I'm
enough.
gonna do my intros here. Will Smith and Norman Chan from
Hello.
Tested.com, known source of not video game information.
No, we haven't seen it. Hey, Norm, what was the last video game you played? Portal 2?
StarCraft 2.
No,
he never played Portal 2.
Oh, right. He
I'm
never
still
played
waiting.
Portal 2. Yeah, we were going to have a big spoiler cast 2 years ago.
StarCraft 2.
Yeah, StarCraft. Okay.
Still rocking the StarCraft. So you guys are down here to hit E3. You're going to hit it tomorrow.
Yeah, we're gonna go see Wii U and that Microsoft tablet
Smart
attachment.
glass.
Smart glass.
One word now.
Do you need 4 hands? Well, I don't want to jump ahead.
No, we'll jump.
I've been
into
workshopping
it.
some material about that.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's been too long since we've talked to you guys. It's a pleasure to have you guys back in here. Brad Shoemaker.
Baby, you make me wish I had 4 hands.
And Max Temkin from Chicago. Chicago's own Max Temkin. How's it going, sir?
Very good. It's great to be here.
Which one of the co-creators of Cards Against Humanity and friend of the site. So pleasure to have you on, sir.
Pleasure to be here.
How is E3 treating you as a non-video game developer?
Yeah, it's exhausting and kind of terrifying, and it makes me sad. It's emotional.
I think that covers everyone's E3
Why,
experience pretty
why
well.
are you sad because of it?
I'm more in the indie game scene, so I'm actually here with IndieCade.
I saw it. I never spent time except today, and I thought IndieCade was great. I'd never been there before.
There's some awesome stuff here with IndieCade, but just going, take one step into those big showrooms, and these companies spend as much on their booth as everyone I ever know will make on their games in their whole life, and it's just man, it's totally different world out there for the
I have
big
so
titles.
many things. I have so much response to that you just said though. So
please
do it. Get into it, man.
So it's the first thing I see this morning, and I'd never had the time to go to IndieCade and really spend time with it. And I really enjoyed it, but honestly, what I was sitting there going, there's so much more creativity, and there's so much more. I mean, there's also a lot of derivative shit, just like in the big budget stuff. It's it's another puzzle game or whatever. But I was just really impressed by the visions and the creativity and the fact that I look at a lot of the emerging business models and stuff, and I hope that we're getting into a point where indie games are going to be able to be a lot more lucrative for the people who create them, whether it's free to play or microtransactions or ad based or streaming or whatever. Part of it, honestly, the other thing I think about is that so much of it is. I saw this game that you guys had there today, which was I forget what it was called, but it was these guys who were aging actors in the 50s, and they were like Ocean's 11. They played in heist films, and then they got too old, and so they stopped acting and decided to actually pull off a real heist. And the game is you going between different characters that have different skills to try robbing a casino. Wow. And I was like, this is so awesome, and it's I liked it because it was fresh and original, but it wasn't so arty that it couldn't, that you had to really be in an art space to enjoy an indie game. So I didn't walk away sad. I walked away going, I love this space, and I love the fact that new business models are emerging to actually, monetize it.
Yeah, I think the people who are out there who are making their own games, that's a grind. That's a really tough thing, and people do it because they have something to say, they have a vision, and something interactive or a game or whatever a game means to them is the way they want to express that. And if it's one person sort of doing a solo project or a small team, it's really scrappy. It's often it's on the brink of disaster every minute. And these people are in some cases putting their whole lives on the line to get these things done. Great indie game, The Movie, which is
There's nothing you just said that's any different from developing a
Sure, I was going to say, it seems like every game is on the verge of...
Yeah,
it's you put your life and it's disaster.
I just whenever I get caught up on all of the sort of AAA gaming world at something like E3, and there's for every great game there's 10 sort of desaturated beige shooters in the desert.
Sure.
I don't know, it's just there's so many people, there's so much talent, there's so many people out there. And there seems like on the one hand there's this really vibrant indie scene that's going on, and on the other there's all this money and all these resources going into these very very derivative, very sort of crowd pleasing big budget titles. And I always think of the possibilities if that was.
But don't you think that kind of needs to exist as a thing to push back against? Of if you don't have that thing to reject, of saying no, that's not how I want to do things. I want to do things this way. It seems like that. Not to say that it's just indie development is purely contrarian, but
But a lot of it is.
But to have something of no, I don't want to make a game the way that everyone else is making games. I want to make it a different way, and I want to follow my own vision.
Well, if you put 50 people on Fez, it wouldn't be Phil Fish's Memory Palace.
Right.
It would be 50 dudes making Fez levels that Phil Fish kind of sketched
There'd
out
be
on
a
a
cover
whiteboard.
mechanic in it at some point.
Yeah.
They'd just be like, hide behind this rock. I don't know why.
And hey, bullet time.
But it would be visceral.
Yeah.
It would definitely be visceral.
Right.
And maybe
not,
a bow.
It's certainly not that any of that stuff shouldn't exist. And like I'm playing Diablo and loving that right now. Like I think there is great stuff in that space. It's just it's like the same feeling I get when I watch the Academy Awards of like there are these mediums that I would love to see as an art, and I think can really touch people. And it's so rare to see that in once you get huge budgets and huge teams. And I think there is stuff out there that sort of cheapens the art and makes it easier for consumers and the media and just the general public to not take games seriously at all.
But I mean, I have two responses. The first one is I think it's really easy, and and I have no reason to assume that you're not being genuine, but I think there's a lot of people in the indie scene that have just sort of taken up the cause without really questioning, and it's like, oh, just like they can look at sort of a brown-based shooter and say, that's the man keeping us down. It's like they're doing the exact same thing in the opposite without really questioning the stance they've chosen to embrace. The truth of it is that just like independent film, I worked for Sony for 15, 16 years. They were never saying, let's not do innovative, artistic. To go to to go to them and say, we want to take some of this magic that we see in these indie games that really start to push emotional buttons, and we want to put that in an Uncharted, or we want to put that in a God of War, or whatever. There was never a producer or an executive that said, oh, fuck no, it's got to be brr. I'm not saying that's not like that. Certain companies, I think it's just dangerous. I've always been, as somebody who loves the medium, I've always sort of had a knee-jerk aversion to this idea that it could be so much more if it just wasn't for the man keeping us down. When it's like, you know what? The truth of the matter is it's so easy to make games. It's never easy, but in terms of cost and you don't have to be the world's greatest coder to make a game these days. You can get a lot of off-the-shelf shit. I mean, even I can use Game Salad, right? And I'm not a programmer. That's what I'm saying. I program.
The tools are there,
right? So you know what? I definitely think the proof is still not in the pudding yet. That a lot of these sort of banners that a lot of the sort of games as art crowd takes up and says this is what it should be. It's like, well, okay, great, but as much as I loved IndieCade today, like I said, I saw a lot of games that were like, I want to be the next Portal. And there was a really cool game that was like, I loved it. It was really cool. It was like you shot this gun and it scaled stuff up and made stuff small. It was really great. But at the end of the day, it wasn't like, oh, it's art. No, it's a really cool mechanics-based game that was really enjoyable. But there's nothing about that that's more emotional, that resonates.
At the same time, there's nothing that says that indie games can't embrace a certain amount of populism either.
Absolutely.
I mean, I
Look
know
at Bastion.
I mean, I know that your tastes definitely run towards a lot of, like, not just in games, but run towards a lot of kind of populist stuff.
Not so much.
And there's Indiana Jones. We want to talk about.
But it's not just that.
No, I know.
I like good, engaging entertainment.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be Michael Bay. It can be.
But my point is that it's populist does not reduce your enjoyment of it.
That's right. I would rather see the indie arcade scene become more like HBO, where you can look at HBO and it's like it's smaller scale, or AMC television. It's smaller scale. It's not trying to compete with Uncharted 3. It's not trying to compete with Gears of War 4, or whatever the Judgment. It's basically saying we're going to compete on our own terms, but it is still engaging for a large group of people. I think that would be a great movement for the indie game to get away from being so.
Get the chip off the shoulder.
Yeah, and it's like fucking be art, but you can still be engaging and entertaining to more than just 8 people. I'm just being a dick. I don't really mean it's 8 people.
I
and Flower is one of my favorite games of all time, so I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that in the context of this conversation, it would be great to see it as in your term. Yeah,
I said that.
You said it.
Not newly independent game developer David
Jaffe. Don't fucking.
Well, there's a fundamental difference in terms of like the stakes, right? When you have a big triple budget game, more stakeholders.
Sure. Well, and I think that can be a lot of what creates that sense is like if you're making a game to make money, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. It's like, well, you can make a game that makes money that is designed to be popular and sold sell a lot of copies and still put in that stuff. You can still make that stuff work.
Absolutely.
Back to your HBO or AMC sort of model.
I also just think like there is and not that these things can't coexist, and you know, like Sony's a great example of a company that's been extremely supportive of the indie scene, and they're actually responsible for Indiecade's presence this year, so that's very awesome of them. But I do think there's like a values clash of like Ryan, like you were saying, like when there is so much riding on it and there's so much money, that's why E3 exists, right? It's this press spectacle of everyone trying to sell their message to the media, and it's a very controlled environment. And then there's all this like attendant bullshit that goes with it. Like I wandered past the Nintendo booth, and someone handed me the Wii U controller, and I sort of picked it up and started to play with it, and I realized it was like leashed to a booth babe.
Yeah,
like
that's
tied
all.
around.
Nintendo always does that.
I mean, what a weird moment like that. I was just like suddenly holding this thing that was like tethered to a woman who was working there.
When they delivered the 3DS to our office, they brought that was an
11 or
uncomfortable
12
day.
Women
with it to walk
like
in
20,
and stand there,
at least.
to like laugh at my awesome jokes while it was one of the most awkward things I've been a part of. It was like. This is weird for you too, right? And there's like, ha, 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 ha. I'm like, oh God, your robots run! Nintendo has a long history of strapping stuff to women. I'm not entirely comfortable with. It's their dark secret.
It's true. No, the first time
it's pretty much actually. I mean, Pikmin 3. I don't know if you know this, but it's like, yeah, you got the rock Pikmin and all this new stuff, but you know, underneath it all.
Yeah,
it's a strapping stuff to women.
You are oppressing.
That's why they
the
said
other
earlier.
gender.
They're like, "Oh, Olimar's not here for reasons we can't get into right now."
Women
strapping stuff to women.
Well, they keep losing them all to Bowser. They got to figure out it's like keep one of them. But I listen. I got to say though, as somebody who worked in big budget games, I don't think it's definitely not entirely accurate. It may not be accurate in the majority to say that the reason you don't see the kind of chance taking that you're talking about in big budget games is, oh, there's so much money riding on it. I don't that is not the case. I think because ultimately, how much money do you need to make Flower? It's like what would you do if the Flower team had the Gears of War team? It's like, you know, seriously. I mean,
you're going to make 65 hours of Flower? I don't want that.
Right. But the other part of it is, honestly, I think it has more to do, frankly, with the fact that our industry is not unionized and games take so long to make. So much of the reason there's a homogenization of the big budget games has less to do with the fact that the publisher doesn't want to do something interesting, because you can do something interesting that's still commercial, right? It has a lot to do with the fact that you've got sometimes well over 150 people, many of which are salaried. They're not like, you know, my brother works in the film industry. It's not like he doesn't go to the director and say, I don't like this part of the story. And the director, he's a camera assistant. The director's not going to go, oh, let's sit down, camera assistant, and have a conversation about, they're like, well, you're fucking fired. You know, not that you would want to ever do that to anybody, certainly not a talented person in the game industry or anywhere else. But ultimately, there is a structure in the other mediums, because they're unionized, that basically allow those above the line talents, and if you're not really talented, you don't stay above the line very long, to basically say, this is my vision, and everyone else is adding their talents and their crafts and their wonderful abilities. But it's a given that if you go onto a movie set, you're there to serve, you know, at the vision of that director that the producer is basically hired. A video game, you can't really do that unless you become an asshole and you get a bad reputation. What? You know, and I was willing to do that on some games. I should have been a better creative leader in the way I dealt with people in some of the games I've made, and I'll have regrets about that forever, because I treated certain people worse than they needed to have been treated. But most people, it's like, dude, it's so collaborative that's what I think homogenizes it. It's not the fact that it's the publisher saying, we don't want something interesting.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens, because I think we're right on the edge of a big shift where you have the authorship tools to make games are getting way more democratic, so there's way more people that can participate in that. And then you have things like Kickstarter out there, so just regular people with a compelling idea can actually have a means to make it.
I agree. I think that's great.
I think just like you saw a ton of disruption in the movie industry and the music industry, I think, you know, when I come into E3 and I see the $800 headphone gift basket giveaway, like, I think there's going to be, you know, this is another industry that's going to be dramatically changed when all that stuff hits.
It's already it's already happening, right? I mean, it's like somebody asked me, I don't want to, you guys.
Well, you look at the time people spend playing games. I mean, I mean, well, you guys are special cases because you play everything a lot.
Special cases?
No, I mean not special
Okay,
cases,
all right.
but special cases.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Go on.
And
I'll
you guys,
allow it.
you guys play a lot of everything, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Except
But-
Twisted Metal, clearly,
Well,
because there's
right,
no review of that.
yeah, definitely.
Anyway,
But like, I mean, the games that I play, I'm at a point where I just play what I want to play, which is really kind of a nice change.
That
for
sounds
me.
insane.
I know it's like I didn't know what to do for like 2 years. I just kept playing everything. I was like, why the fuck am I still doing this? This is awful. I'm just if this sucks, I'm just not going to play it. And
Will, are you saying you did not play Battleship, the motion picture, the video game?
Fuck no.
That was not bad.
All right.
Not bad.
It's weird how like there's some ideas that are like this is actually kind of compelling and like incorporates the Battleship idea like pretty well. I don't know anything about the movie. I didn't see the film, but like there was some like naval combat that kind of tied into the first-person shooter stuff of like positioning of ships and having abilities that you could tap into in the first-person shooter based on that stuff. I know.
Fucking madness.
Again, I'm pretty sure it's like
I was out of the office when they covered that game, so I can't vouch for any of that.
I'm pretty sure it's like a 4-hour game and $60, and like the first person shooter stuff wasn't great, but it was one of those things where we were ready to just like put it in and just shit on it, and we were brutally rebuffed of like, wait, there's actually something interesting going on here. So I think that's part of the thing is that there are hacks in big budget games, there are hacks in indie games. But that doesn't mean that just because it is a movie license game doesn't mean that there can't be some craft to it, that there can't be something that is genuinely interesting. Whether that makes the overall product something that's worth analyzing or talking about is a different question, or even playing. But
the maker of Battleship might be a fantastic developer waiting to happen. Unburdened by the constraints that hinder every movie game in existence. Like they might.
That was one of the
turn
interesting
something
things. I feel like
excellent
the information that we found out over the since starting Giant Bomb and kind of just having more interesting conversations with developers is that idea that like. It's common sense when you think about it now, but just the idea that like no one sets out to make a bad game,
or that good developers can make bad games,
and just the idea that like these guys working on this licensed stuff that we just cast off as like, oh, this fucking shit.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that guy got to eat and that's cool, and also like they did what they could with what they had, probably.
Maybe they had 10 months. Maybe they had to get everything through approvals every 2 weeks. Like if you took all that away, what would they do?
Well, Game Dev Story says that they made like $100,000 off of that game, and then they were able to put that toward their own original IP, right?
Oh, that's
the way it works.
That's a documentary. Is that what you're saying?
I just understood that to be the truth.
Exactly.
I mean,
that's how all games are actually made.
Yeah, you go out and do a couple of contracts, right?
And then they just actually take an iPhone into a focus test.
Exactly.
And go, would you play this game?
Yeah, and it's Space Invaders Extreme.
How about for
43.
99 cents?
Yeah,
sold.
David, you talk about the lack of structure in the process of making video games. Do you think some of that owes to just the relative immaturity of the medium? I mean, you talk about movies. I mean, there is massive unionization and low level employees are protected and that kind of thing. But also like it's been 100 years. The process of what it takes to make a film is very well known. Like you need a cinematographer. You need
but
gaffers.
not so much because. Granted, it's a more mature medium. There's no doubt. But if you go back to 1890, what right? Is that Edison invents the camera,
electrocutes an elephant,
right?
Cats boxing.
But
no, that's
you had the DP or the cinematographer functioning as the role of the director, even at that stage. Yeah. So by the time, if you look at movies and say, okay, from just even to 1939, which is when the first year of Gone with the Wind, you had Wizard of Oz, I think Wonderful Life, all these movies that still hold up if you get past sort of the old creaky storytelling, right? Those movies, so 40 years, right? We're 1971 is Space War. We're in our 40th year.
Yeah.
So I would agree with you to some extent, but I think more of it really has to do with, look, think about this. You put a bunch of really smart people, because they have to be smart to program and do art and create models for these next gen, bleeding edge visual games. So these are not, again, you say low level. I mean, I don't think of it as low level, but I know what you mean. You don't, these are not below the line. These are incredibly educated, well paid, brains smarter than most people, around. And you basically say, just do it. you can't, right? And you should. I mean, on one hand, you want to say you shouldn't, but at the same time, it's that push and pull because you're also going. It's like, look, we can't all contribute at the same level, but everybody wants to. Right. I think that it's a real problem.
Well,
it's a real challenge.
I mean, but there's a couple of big differences though. Like a film is a 2-week to 10-month project.
That's exactly
at the
right.
outside.
Yep, you're right.
And the other thing that happened is with games, the technology, not just the medium and the art creation, and that has changed, but the technology used to display it changes dramatically every 5 or 10 years.
Right.
And film, I mean, we've been displaying film at 24 frames a second, and they've added sound, and it's become color, and we've changed aspect ratios, and we've added 5.1 sound. But for the most part, it's 24 frames per second of images blasted onto a screen, and that hasn't changed in 120 years.
And the Panavision camera they make better but it's still the essence. The guys who make the movies don't have to sit there and make the Panavision camera.
And you don't have to relearn the tool every 5 years.
So something I would add to that is that whether you're making a romantic comedy or a horror movie or a Western, like the roles behind the scenes that it takes to get that done are basically the same, but the guys who made StarCraft 2 have a very different skill set from the guys who made Flower, Like they're working in the same medium, but the thing that they're turning out kind of dictates what they need to get that done.
Yeah, I would imagine there are
way.
some one-to-one correlations. I imagine maybe the writer of a Western probably isn't the guy who's going to sit down and be able to write a great romantic comedy. Yeah. But most of the people who make it, I agree. It's not a direct comparison at all. But I think we do that a lot, though. We look at film and we look at games and we look at television and we make this comparison. And you're right; they're made so differently. And it's not just about the technology. It's everything from the work structure to the business model. The business model is a key thing too. It's like I looked at that game I was telling you about at IndieCade, and even though as a guy who doesn't like playing puzzle, I really liked the scaling game. And I love the fact that, like I said, we're entering into a time we're already actually there, where there's a business model now that the person who made that game, if I'm going to play that game, it doesn't need to look like PS4 and Xbox 720, right? It can look like it looks, and as long as it's monetized in a way that I don't feel like, are you kidding me? I have to pay $60 for this. Then you don't need everybody on the team to be firing on all cylinders. Well, you do, but you have to have as many people, and they don't have to be at that level. They can be bringing more creative juice and not worried about their perfect art skills, if that makes sense. I'm fucking tired, so I'm rambling.
So Max, I mean, Cards Against Humanity, and you guys have had some other projects. Do you have any designs on getting into video games, or are you just here to support the others and show off your wares here as they exist?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm doing some game design for IndieCade. So IndieCade is this big festival of independent games. It happens in Culver City in October every year. It's awesome. It's kind of the E3 but less sad of the indie game scene. And I'm actually doing a game design project for the festival this year. So I'm just sort of here seeing what there is to see and making myself sad and just hanging out.
You like
the Morrissey of
such
video
a
games.
hipster. All right, man. You make a cover-based shooter where you hide in front of the cover instead of behind it. Turn this shit on his head.
You have to take as many bullets as you can.
Yeah. I'm thinking cover and bullet time. I think that's a good...
You'll be fine as long as you have like wind on the soundtrack and nothing else, just minimal. Then 9.9, it's art, I tell you. It's art. There's wind.
So I mean, David,
this is about the Holocaust, isn't it?
That's right.
I mean, it seems like it's kind of shifting gears for you right now. Like, are you in a position you want to talk about kind of like where you want to go in this?
Yeah, I mean,
this post Sony lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I just had dinner with a person who might be coming onto the team in a really big way, and we were talking about that. And so he's like, "Well, what ultimately do you want to do with this new company in 5 years?" I said, "Look, I don't fucking know. My biggest goal is I just want to keep doing really cool, fun stuff. And so I don't know if this is the company's direction forever." But I can tell you right now, browser-based free-to-play has me really excited. But I fucking hate free-to-play right now. Like,
Why?
Why? I will tell you, but I don't know what kind of show this is in the sense that, I mean, I'll get into design theory if you want, and that might bore the fuck out of people.
I'd be interested in hearing it, because it seems like to me that like the business model often gets in the way of
it does.
of the game.
I fucking hate it. Here's what I love about it. I love the no barrier, low barrier of entry.
Yeah.
I love, I get that if you're a hardcore gamer, you'll go through fire to play, the new quadruple A game. But for me, maybe it's age, maybe it's just, and it's not even age, it's so much competing for your time. Even if you're a 15-year-old kid and you don't have kids, you don't have a job, you've got your iPad, you've got television, you've got the internet, you've got texting, you've got console games, you've got shit going on. And so the idea of sitting down, putting the disc in, turning it on, sitting down, loading it up, going through the XMB or the dashboard, going through the fucking legal shit, then loading the game. It's like, by the time, and I know it makes me sound like, oh, you're not a fucking gamer. Maybe not. But end of the day, though, I'm like, by the time I get to that phase and I'm actually controlling the character, 20 things have probably distracted me that are, and to be fair, I can get, if you just take pure gameplay, just pure essence of gameplay, I can get 95% of the time, I can get as good of an experience on my iPhone or my iPad 2 as I can get playing a $60 console game, okay? The $60 console games, 5% of the time, they give me experiences that I could never get anywhere else. And the rest of the time, it's basically a similar experience with just the next-gen graphics and spectacle. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of over spectacle. It's like if I see a movie, I mean, I appreciate it. Yeah. Like I saw Tomb Raider yesterday, thought it looked great. I saw Splinter Cell, thought it looked great. Yeah. But end of the day, it's like, you know what? I've been there. It looks great.
Those are games. Both those games, you can look at them and know exactly how they play.
Right, and I think it's great. I'll play
that's
them.
fine. That doesn't make them bad games, but it's one of those things where you just look at it and go, "Yep, this is where you hold down the left trigger, and this is where you hold down the right trigger."
Right, and that's why the browser thing has me excited because I want to just be able to boom. I mean, I watch my kids play. I watch people play. I don't, I'm not a big Farmville guy or anything, but I just love that boom, you're in the game, right? So that's part of it. I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Were you going to say something? Guy outside driving by, were you going to fucking say something? I'm going to fucking kill you. Be on your show? Yeah, I'll come be on your show. Fuck you.
I can't believe you leave that fucking door open. Also,
that's been the general temperament of most of our guests so far. So that would fit.
Be on your show? Fuck your show?
No, just the rampant cursing and.
That's
Oh no, I'm saying prior to you, the shit that got said by the Firaxis and the Gearbox guys.
Really?
Oh,
those turn-based guys, filthy mouths.
Peel the paint off a wall with some of the stuff those guys. But I have kid.
Okay, all right.
They were a pleasure to have on, but no, it gets rowdy in here, and we leave that open so that there's air in here.
I know. I appreciate it. I'm just saying it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Can we, without disclosing your secret location, can we talk about this studio situation here?
Sure, if you'd like to.
It seems to me like the guy who rented this to you did it primarily to get more prints on everything in here and the walls. And
yeah.
I think you should
if
give
everyone
that
could just
painting
leave
away.
a little DNA around here, I'm sure he would really appreciate it.
There's a room that looks like one of like the death rooms in Seven. Like upstairs, there's a mattress just kind of cattywampus
I showed
on the floor.
Right?
I showed Harmonix's John Drake just pictures of this place before we even got into it.
I'm surprised he came,
and he hasn't.
Oh, okay.
You know what's funny? You guys are rich motherfuckers. You got bought by CBS. You can fucking be at the Ritz-Carlton doing this. We're with the people. Fuck that shit.
But we would have
I'm on Cobra, motherfucker. I'm with the people.
We would have
You're
to.
fucking,
We thought this place was going to be nicer than it was.
kind of cool.
It's still better than last year, though. I mean, there's no
when you say
bars.
someone's language would peel the paint off the walls,
yes,
so to speak. I don't know that there's much left here.
That's right. That's what he meant. You should have seen it.
Before you got here, this place was really
It looked really nice here before the last segment ended. And now we have this. No, we like to have a place that we can do what we want. And if you do that at the Ritz-Carlton, that would outstrip our budget for any of this stuff.
Cool, though.
But also, it would be like, someone would be like, it's 2 a.m, stop fucking yelling.
Yeah. Whereas
I was only. I don't really go. Why are you at the Ritz-Carlton? I was fucking with you. But can
next year,
if I may, just because I want to, because I would hate
this is
people
the
to
last
say.
time I do this shit. I'll tell you that much.
I would hate people to think. Because I think free to play really is disruptive. The way I've always thought about it, it's like. It's like you got this. Let's say you got this amazing board game like chess, obviously one of the best games ever made.
Yeah.
But most free-to-play models are like you're trying to play that, and there's this hurricane approaching, and as great as that game is, you really can't give it your attention, and you really can't engage because you're constantly worried about this fucking hurricane that's going to come in and pretty much kill you.
Right.
And so for me, especially when you're talking about games, because I want to make the free-to-play stuff that we want to do, is going to speak to the gamers who have enjoyed the stuff that we've worked on before. So it's definitely saying, let's rethink the business model of free-to-play in order to speak directly and respectfully to those game players. Because I think gamers, there's a lot of great things about free-to-play. There's a lot of great things about browser games that are instantly there. You can get in and get into the game instantly or pretty quick. But it's just the business models are fucking turnoffs.
Yeah, I feel like it's been like maybe over the last year that I've started to turn on free-to-play stuff and been like, this stuff's all right.
Did you guys give a? Didn't you guys? I mean, maybe it was Destructoid. Somebody gave a really good review to Tribes. Maybe that wasn't you guys.
No, we did not review Tribes.
Okay,
but we've been covering more and more free-to-play stuff because it's getting to a point where, like, we're just really interested in it. Like these games like Air Mech and stuff like that. Just playing them, just going like, this is a ton of fun.
But there are problems though. There's still design problems. It's like even Tribes is a really good game, but. It's what I hate when you hear a lot of marketing guys go, well, it's fine. You can either pay with your time or pay with your money.
Yeah.
And it's an absurd statement when you think about it. It's like, if you're basically saying pay with your time, what are you really saying? You're basically saying, if you don't pay, you're going to have a shitty experience. But,
right. You're going to grind to get this stuff.
Right. And it's like
and they're going to find the best way they can to hide that grind.
That's right.
But the grind is still there.
And if you pay for it, you've disrupted the one great thing that really Call of Duty brought to they brought a lot of good things.
Yeah,
but
the progression
that like the morphine drip of every 20 minutes. Ooh, I got something new. If you pay for that, that's fucked. So I trust it ain't that model that I like either. But
I think one of my other big problems with it is that I like it when you can focus on a game. When you're playing a game, you should be thinking about the game and enjoying the game.
Yep.
If after every match or every so often you have to stop and think about a game's business model, you're just taking all the way out of that entire experience back up to basically a store page. You know?
Have you played any of the Zynga stuff?
I messed around with Mafia Wars for a little while, but I haven't. And I tried Turmel's game, the Bubble.
Right, I haven't played that yet.
It's this worst kind of Skinner machine. I mean, I've only played Farmville, and Farmville, you reach a point very quickly, or at least I did, where I realized that in order for me to proceed, I was going to have to put real money, turn real money into second level space bucks.
Right.
And I had no interest in turning real money in second level space bucks
because the game underneath.
Yeah.
And what's funny is
there's no game.
I spent $60 on Adventure World or whatever, Allies and Empires. And the production value for those games, I'm not saying Zynga sucks. No, they're really good production value on those games. The sound's great. The animations are really good. But it was really fascinating for me that the minute I said, okay, here's $60, because I was engaged, it was very clear to me, oh shit, I've been playing the business model. Because the minute I had a window where I didn't have to care about my energy consumption, I could just play free of that. That was 98% of what was holding my interest, was trying to figure out how I can do this without spending as much energy so I can get further before I run out of energy. The minute that's gone, the game's nothing.
Yeah.
How's it different from just XP, though, in Call of Duty and unlocking weapons? Like, if I'm playing Battlefield and I'm playing just unlock the best sniper rifle, I don't care about that. I want to shoot guys.
Okay, well, there's two things. The underlying, I mean, first of all, I would argue that if you basically strip away the amazing execution of Call of Duty or Battlefield and the great craftsmanship and the set pieces and the RPG element, if you just focus on the pure shooting mechanics, the shooter hasn't really evolved all that much in a long time as a core piece of play mechanics, right?
Yeah, what was the last innovation there? Like snap to target? Portal?
Well, GoldenEye or Halo probably in it. I mean, there've been innovations
making
here.
it work on a console, like controller or stuff.
But you're right. But it is the peripheral thing. It is like the core underlying thing. Maybe aiming to having the left trigger, right trigger instead of just point and shoot.
And it's different, and I swear I'm going to bring this back to art games. I'm about to. You're going to be like, wow, he's really smart, or he's drunk. I don't know which it is.
You have this plan.
But no, I didn't, but it just hit me when you said that, but basically it's only different in the sense that you and I probably, because it sounds like you like shooting stuff in games, that it's an enjoyable interaction with the controller. You like swinging the gun around. You like the payoff of seeing the body. So even though when you strip all that away, there's still a fundamental base piece of interactivity that's engaging you and bringing you some sort of neuron firing moments, right? So whereas Farmville, there are people that just enjoy the clicking. Like, look, I've built shit in Farmville and Cityville, and it's just nice to hear pouring the cement when I try to make a house in Cityville. It's not that big of a leap to say that's not less noble of a joy of a piece of interactivity than the fun of swinging a gun around and seeing a nice payoff animation of someone going like this and getting hit. And that brings me back to the art games, which is really ultimately one of the problems that I have with the art game scene, which is, end of the day, it really everything's peripheral except the mechanics.
Yeah.
We can talk all we want about, oh look, we're looking at it's like movies. No, but it's really not. It's really fucking not. Ultimately, it's great graphics, or it's arty clothing that the art games, drape themselves in, or it's business models. But end of the day, it really is, are you doing something with your hands or your body with Kinect or whatever that you're enjoying that moment-to-moment experience at a very base level? And if that's not art, or if that's not compelling, or if that's not entertaining, then really everything that you're reviewing or everything that you're giving accolades to is just periphery shit that will not stand the test of time. And that's the shit that I wish more game designers and people would really sort of plant the flag and say, this is what makes our medium great. And instead of getting sort of blindsided by all of this other periphery shit that doesn't really matter.
Well, I think that's a great point about the way that the business model of a game interacts with the game design. And I know I think it was Phil Fish who said this about his design process, inspiration for Fez was he was trying to look back at a time when game design was all about trying to get the most quarters out of you from an arcade machine and trying to reach that level of difficulty and that sort of frustration and then overcoming it. And I do have that feeling playing Fez.
Right.
Well, I mean, the thing for me that I've realized as I've had less time and more freedom to play what I want is that the thing that I want isn't the big Michael Bay spectacle. I'm good with set pieces. I've seen a lot of set pieces. I'm sure at some point there will be a set piece. I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe that just happened.
I'm good on QuickTime events.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just
okay
want
with them. It's like, hey,
we're all full up.
Yeah.
I push that button. Sometimes I had to push it 5 or 6 times, but
I mean,
the movie kept playing. It's like turning a crank in old cinema. Just like, I keep turning this.
Unless you're playing Asura's Wrath.
Like Asura's Wrath is the only counterpoint to that, where the QuickTime event becomes the meat of the game.
Well,
in a really interesting way.
Interesting things with it, right?
Yeah.
And
if you're Daryl, that 80s movie is basically an action game, a QuickTime event, because everything to him is so fucking. Anyway, I'm drunk. I tell you, I'm drunk. I'm really not, but I should be.
When you talk about the mechanic being the core of the game, I mean, the business model you can derive an entertainment from that. You're talking about an old arcade game, and your fond memory of the Simpsons game is it's sucking away your quarters, and you only had 4 quarters.
Yeah,
paying $10 to play that unlimited lives on Xbox is not the same.
It ruins it.
And people, and that's where people also get a little mixed up when they say, "Oh, well, quarters is just like the Zynga model." It's really not, because if I put a quarter in Robotron and you put a quarter in Robotron, once we're in, this is what you were talking about. Is once you're in, they leave you alone.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they are tuning those knobs to want more quarters out of you, but once you've committed, it's like I'm buying my game.
You don't get better at an arcade game for putting more quarters into it.
Yeah, you do. Sure, you do.
No, you get better by playing more.
Right, you can play more.
But if I put 50 cents in and you put a quarter in, I don't have an inherent advantage over you, other than more lives, maybe.
That's right, but you have an advantage in the sense that basically you are more skilled because you've practiced more, and you have more experience.
As it should be.
As it should be, that's right. And that's why I don't think it's like the Zynga model, whereas the Zynga model is, you can be the world's best Farmville player, and I can be the worst, but we're still done after 15 moves unless we pay or bug our friends.
I want to meet the world's best Farmville. Do they have a tournament? Is that an
Look at those
esports thing?
turnips, good God.
Is it like people in Korea just
There's
like...
there's a Farmville kill screen.
The
coming up.
APM
We had
headphones.
phones.
I bet there's someone that's working at the Chinese gold farm who, that guy really has his process down.
And he thinks he's getting laid.
You guys know there
I'm
are
really good
20 times more active Farmville farmers on Facebook than there are actual farmers in the United States of America.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Seems right.
Many times more.
That's much
that has
easier.
more to do with sort of the government sort of subsidizing corn and whatnot. It's less to do with actual.
You know what? Have you guys kept up with the saga of the Diablo account hacking that's going on?
No.
And
I'm scared though.
I know that I turned my authenticator on.
Yeah, you don't
This is Diablo 3, the new one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like the extent to which it's highlighted the value of these completely invisible, intangible goods now, because it's rampant. People are getting hacked left and right, and their accounts stripped by gold farmers to feed into this invisible, completely arbitrary economy that's then being turned around and flipped for real money.
So the most amazing dumb mistake they made. That recent patch they put out now forces you to join the general chat channel.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Before
so
you had to
bad.
go manually join any chat channel. It was just combat text and all that stuff. So now you see ads for gold farming sites all over the place.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Like before, it was invisible. You would have to opt into the chat and maybe see it. So, I think those people probably weren't even going in there because they figured, who would opt into this horrible thing?
Right.
Now they force you into it. And now left and right is just like, go buy some shit. Like they made the problem worse. It's insane.
And when you report spam, it doesn't block them automatically.
Oh, that's no good.
Why does it not? Why?
But in the
Jeff?
new Diablo,
Why?
can't you just buy shit in the auction house anyway?
No, the real money auction is not there yet.
but they haven't launched it yet.
But also, you won't be able to just buy gold, which is what these guys specialize in.
But why do you even care about gold if I can just buy the fucking thing? That
Well,
gold's gonna
with
give
gold
me?
can be like peanuts. You can exchange gold for peanuts. So if
It
you want
is
a
kind
peanut,
of a it's kind of like
never mind.
a
I
worst
whiffed.
of both worlds scenario, like the where it's not free to play, like you have to pay to play the game, and then you do get a gameplay advantage for spending a bunch of money.
Yeah.
I felt that way about Mass Effect 3.
Let's talk about Mass Effect.
When I got into the multiplayer of that, like that was crazy. Like that every it seems to me like a lot of the gameplay decisions in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer are geared towards trying to get me to buy the mystery box.
Confession time?
It feels like they had made a free-to-play game.
Right.
But yeah, it has the
Fucking
mechanics and
$60.
business model of a
Right.
free-to-play game. In the multiplayer, that you have to pay $60 to
The game
get.
that you paid
Yeah.
the price for it.
It's-
It's unbelievable.
They haven't charged for DLC yet, in fairness, but still, I after Norm said, "Hey, your time is worth more than the amount of time it will take to earn one of the super packs," I was like, "Yeah, that's only $2." And next thing I know, like $35, $36 later, I'm in deep into Mass Effect.
And they made those things all gambling.
And it's
a
fucking
roll with the
random.
dice.
Yeah.
So you get random guns and all this stuff. So there's like this like hooky kind of gambling element of like maybe I'll buy the cheap one and get something really great out of it for a change. Ooh. And
But the evil thing about it is it makes you it puts you in charge of your progress. Like as a mechanic, you're the rat and you get the pellet, but you also control the button that spits out the pellet, and all you have to do is put $2 in the slot to get that.
Yeah.
And you start doing real bad things, and then you look up and you're like, shit, I don't have any my accounts. What happened to that $20 card I put in?
An unexpected reward is way more powerful than an expected reward. You get more like dopamine in the brain.
But the thing,
if it's something that was unexpected.
But the thing about this is because the rewards are random, even when you expect the reward, it's still random because most of the time.
No, he's saying that's the unexpected reward.
Yeah, that's exactly
like
it.
It's
evil.
What Jeff is saying, if you buy the cheap box and you get something awesome,
yes,
that's what you're in it for.
Because then it's like you're putting one over on them along the way
with your buck.
Yeah, it's like I only paid you $1. Oh shit! I paid you $1.
See, but I played the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer and I never put a nickel into it.
Well, you're smarter than I am.
You put $60 into it.
Yeah. Well, I put $90 into it.
But I mean, I still was able to get something out of it. And David, to your point about business model stuff and with the Farmville stuff is maybe like. It's some of the most naked of that stuff. Yeah. But if you look at, let's talk about League of Legends. Let's talk about Dota 2. Let's talk about, Team Fortress 2 didn't start out this way.
Well, Dota 2, they just came out and said they're not going to do what League of Legends does. Didn't Valve just this week said they're not going to fuck the balance.
Yeah, they're selling hats
because of the balance.
They're selling hats.
Valve, home of hats.
And I had a real smart. I like those games, but it's just it's too tower defensey.
Yeah.
I just don't play
Same
those
here.
games. But I got a buddy, Mike Yam, who was designer on like the first Warhawk back in the day and Jetmoto and stuff. And he breaks all that shit apart and he studies all those. And he had a really good point about League of Legends. He was saying it's a really cool business model, but they're kind of getting into some, he's kind of, in my opinion, he's always kind of been like sort of the canary in the coal mine. It's like, I don't know if gamers are feeling what he's feeling yet, but they're not also paid to break this shit apart and sort of analyze it.
Right.
But basically, the more characters they introduce, which they have to do, as a designer, the less variance you can create between them to the point that ultimately they have to keep creating more characters to maintain interest, but the differentials get so much non-important or unimportant. Unimportant. Fuck, I can't talk. I'm drunk. They get so unimportant that it ends up just being this flat thing. And is that going to ultimately end up being a cliff?
Well, they can put more sliders in. I mean, they can always add more resists and more.
Well, I think the crazy thing with them too is that they control the other end of that because they're able to adjust the game balance.
Right.
And I'm not going to sit here and accuse them of acting nefariously in that, but it's you end up in a situation where you have one hero who's overpowered for a little while, everyone flocks to buy it, they patch it,
right,
But then, whoops, this guy's overpowered, so everyone flocks to
And
buy that.
let me. I don't know. You guys, I'm sorry. Look, I'm good. I talk. You guys talk. I know, but you're not. You haven't said a guy. This guy looking to pick his. You haven't said shit. Say something.
He doesn't have a microphone.
I know. I'm just kidding. You say something. You say something.
I'll play games. Norman Chan and Will Smith have not been to E3 yet. So actually, I mean, Jeff and Brad, we've seen some stuff today. We talked about that some in a wrap up video that'll go up eventually. But we have you for such a limited time.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what
let's take it back to at least to E3. Let's talk about.
I'll tell you what I saw.
The stuff that you saw and what you thought about it.
I saw this game in Sega called Hell Yeah. Did you see that?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
I've heard it's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I mean, I don't want to get all crazy. I mean, I loved Rayman last year, and I know that it wasn't like the biggest seller in the world, but I thought it was a great game.
Sold enough for them to make another one, man.
Yeah,
and it was a great game.
And the new one looks great. The Rayman looks great. But this thing is, it's cartoony like that, but it's almost more like if Rayman is kind of like Mario, this is like Earthworm Jim on like crack, basically in terms of its style. And the guy was telling me, because Sega's publishing it, but they don't own the IP and they didn't develop it. But apparently, it's not Yuji Naka, is it? Who's still at Sega? Who's the guy
still there?
Whoever the Sonic Team guy who kind of runs that.
Yeah.
He worked with him like on the Jump. I mean, the Jump feels. Talk about mechanics and just it feels fucking sublime because he's got this cool like jump jetpack thing.
Yeah.
I saw that and I just loved that. That was fantastic. And
cool.
I thought Borderlands 2, I didn't get to play it, but I saw the trailer. It looks fucking great.
I kind of almost don't want to play anymore. I played it back at PAX. And
it's going to be great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
We had Mikey Newman on in the last segment, and I told him exactly as much of like, I know you're showing off more stuff here, but we're sold. You don't need to convince us anymore.
They could pull a Bioshock Infinite on that and say, fuck it, we're not showing it because we don't need to. And I'd be like, yeah, you're right, you don't.
You're fine. Unless, 2K says, no, we need to have something here.
Right.
For the love of God.
Ken Levine pulled out, so you have to show Borderlands now, you fucks. Yeah.
I struggle with my response to Lollipop Chainsaw on one hand.
Yeah.
But I struggle with my response to Shadows of the Dam, too, because it's like on one hand, you can't help but applaud and embrace and be so excited about just the unbridled nonsense and creativity, but at the same time there is kind of a forced aspect about it that I didn't like that I was feeling that about it, because it's so original and different, but it almost felt like so original and different just to be so original and different.
It's
but it was
hard, and on top of that, like it's really hard for me to separate that game from its marketing, because they put out a lot of trailers that are just like live action, like skimpy dressed up girl that has that same aspect of just like they're trying too hard, they're trying to force this on people.
I do like the
and it just
character.
seems
Like if it was
gross.
a comic or a manga, I'd read it. I like it, but it just as a game, it almost felt like if you can't deliver a game that's worthy of this crazy vision that you have, like whether it's an RPG or whatever it is to kind of sell that world.
Yeah.
Then it felt. But I appreciated it, but I didn't fall in love with it like I wanted to. I played the Studio Ghibli RPG.
Oh, Ni no Kuni.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really cool because it was Studio Ghibli and it looked like a fucking cartoon.
Is it really cool or does it look really cool?
It looks really cool. It feels really cool as a pure piece of mechanics. I mean, basically what I liked is, I liked like back in the day with Chrono Trigger, you could see the enemies that were about to attack you, so there weren't random battles, but you couldn't avoid them that well. But it played good. Like I'll play it. It plays like a solid RPG, but the world seems like something you want to get immersed in if you like.
I thought the combat was pretty interesting. Once you select attack, you're like, okay, now go run over there and hit him.
Right.
It was almost like Sword of Vermilion or something. Like in Fits and Starts. So yeah, it was interesting.
I played Transformers, which I thought was really good. I mean, it's like they're getting better and better and better. The new one.
I feel like they're getting better and better and better, but I still can't. I can't let go of the Transformers of my youth, and I'm not interested in the movies. And when I look at this stuff, and so here's the thing for me: the gameplay concessions they had to make, where okay, you're going to transform into a car, but because this is still a shooter, you need to be able to strafe, so the cars are going to be able to glide back and forth. I'm like, that's That's off-brand. That is not Transformers to me anymore.
Right.
It's just that I understand why you'd have to do it.
Right.
Because if you had to turn and position yourself to shoot people, you would never use the car mode to engage in combat
that.
at all.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't, because Transformers are supposed to turn into cars because they're robots in disguise.
So
and
you're saying-
Megatron turns into a fucking gun.
We need to
A
have
gun.
a stealth-based Transformers game.
Yeah, where you're just in car mode the
where it's
whole
like,
time.
listen, if we're gonna go into town, you can't go and fucking run
I
around as a
basically
giant
want
goddamn robot, man.
Spy Party, but with all cars.
Yeah.
All right.
Make that game,
Yeah.
Michael Pachter. Make it so. I'll sell 5 headphones and we're in business.
He would just say, nah, that wouldn't
I'm not
sell.
talking like this when I don't know.
Newly indie
Yeah, that's
game
right.
developer.
Getting into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but I think visually and some of the stuff they're doing with Transformers, I think it looks really cool. But it's really hard for me to get over what I feel Transformers should be.
But I think that's just because we're old. Because I feel
Yeah,
the same
totally.
way.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
there's a whole shitload of 13-year-olds that all the Transformers they know is what's on Hub, and
Right, yeah. And
that's really lame and like 15 frames a second animation from the 80s.
Like
and
Grimlock is in it, but you can't transform at will. You have to fill a meter to turn into robot mode. I'm like, what kind of bullshit? How did he got fucked at the Transformer factory, man?
yeah. Well, is he still real angry? Doesn't speak real good? Is
Yeah.
he kind of dumb?
Yeah.
It's okay then.
And Metroplex is in it. It's just like, you're this huge fucking Autobot city. It looks awesome. But
yeah.
There's nothing sadder than geeks getting older.
there is no tape. I saw no tape deck.
What's a tape?
Exactly.
You put your mini disc in there now, right? Mini disc.
Mini disc turns into a Panther. I would take it. I would. That I could understand.
I mean, it plays in Japan.
I don't know. The last Transformer I bought was a USB stick that turned into a
Wow.
Panther. So
Wow.
that's about where
I think it's
we're
a
at.
Jaguar, actually.
A Jaguar and a Panther are the same thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yep. So fuck you, Will Smith.
Good talk. This was fun.
I played Hitman.
Oh man, I am so excited about this game.
That was an interesting experience.
It's a I played it last year behind closed doors, and we talked about this some because Patrick Klepek just recently played through Blood Money for the first time, and it was his first Hitman experience, and he loved it.
Oh, I'm jealous.
I know. Like while he was going through it, I was getting to relive.
Oh, yeah.
of like, oh man, I forgot how much I loved these moments, and just kind of the poking at systems and going like, okay, what happens when I do this?
Figuring out that the booze is in the globe, and if you poison the blues, it'll kill all 3 of those dudes at once. It's amazing.
All of those sorts of steps, and like going to the Square Enix booth last year and being behind closed doors and being in this small room with like 4 IO guys and being like, here, you want to play the game? And I'm like, sure, great. Like that game is, it's sort of like again, we had the Firaxis guys here earlier, like Civ 5. You're not going to sit down and play Civ 5 for 5 fucking minutes and get anything really enjoyable out of it. It's like, no, like even when they were showing Civ 5 off for press before it came out, they had, preview sessions where it's like, okay, we have 5 hours, so go ahead and sit down. We have a station here. We're going to bring food by at a regular interval so that you can actually have something that approximates a true Civ 5 experience. But to sit in a tiny room at E3 on the show floor, 4 IO guys looking over your shoulder while you're trying to have a Hitman experience, that's, to me, that was a very unideal way to try and play that game. At the same time, I still saw okay, I see the potential here. It does seem like you guys are making a Hitman game in a way that I enjoy, and it seems like they are being smart about some of the. We spent the last segment talking about accessibility as a dirty word, but just making stuff so that it doesn't seem as arbitrarily punishing
or trial and error, because I mean those games never demoed well because you
have no idea.
Yeah, I mean I can't imagine what a nightmare it is for those guys to bring that to E3
today for me to play it.
Yeah,
because here's the thing. There was this whole Tomb Raider shit about Lara Croft. She's having sex noises or some shit about the Tomb Raider trailer.
Right.
And I was on my Twitter account like, dude, what are you talking about? It's such bullshit. People are like, oh, Jaffe's whatever. It's like Jaffe's mean to women. I'm like, no, she's just not having sex. It's like there's nothing about this. There's no rape. It's what are you talking about, right? So
if
anyway,
that was Nathan Drake making the same noises.
Exactly, right? So, but I'm playing this thing, and not to sound presumptuous now, but people recognize my face enough that when I walk around E3, it's not like, it's not, a big deal, but it's like I'll get stopped, often enough. People say, oh, hi, it's really always nice to meet people. Yeah. So I know sometimes I'll be playing games and people will be waiting to say hi or something. And so I'm putting the headphones on. I'm playing Hitman today. And, I've been playing 12 other games before it.
Sure.
And I'm like, wait, what is this? What, I couldn't get the controls immediately. And I'm walking around that opening scene where there's the pagoda and there's just a great, impressive crowd scene. Yeah. And I start punching these women. And it happens over and over and over because they keep being there's this one NPC that keeps getting in front of me and I die. Because the SWAT guys shoot me and I restart and I keep fucking hitting women and I'm like, people are like watching me. I'm like, I know they know who I am because they asked me, they want to meet me afterwards. And I'm just like, fuck.
Jaffe just keeps dying
and
on
I'm
purpose
sweating.
just so you can go back and punch this lady.
Oh man, I felt like an idiot, man. But so yes,
suddenly all you can see is tomorrow's Kotaku.
Exactly. Oh fuck that. Yes. But yeah, so it's trial and error and they don't demo well, but it was great. It was really impressive.
It seems like it's. I mean, for what you've said, it seems like it's Hitman. It's like what we love.
Again, like I saw a demo in San Francisco maybe 6 months ago or so, and they showed a section where it was like, okay, they go through one super stealthy, like only like silent kills as they go through this, and they go through again guns blazing. Because you can't not do that.
Yeah.
For a gameplay demo,
right.
Like if you're going to show something to the public,
the Dishonored demo that I got a couple of weeks ago was the exact same way, and
Yeah.
I think you got the same demo even before that, where it's like, we're going to go through stealthy, we're going to go through and actually fuck people up now.
Yeah. Which is to me way more interesting because it takes a lot more restraint. It's a lot harder to pull off and make
2 games
have be a satisfying experience. I think.
It's 2 potential games, but does anybody actually play it at either end of that spectrum? Like, isn't it always
Hitman?
I played Hitman.
Any game of that type, like, isn't it?
I mean, the beauty of the prior Hitman games. I can't speak to the new one here, but is that kind of what made them great was that shooting sucked in them. It wasn't really good shooting action, so you could, as a last resort, in kind of like a fuck, there's no other way for me to get out of this situation, you might be able to get out with guns. But it was much more about playing it smart and knowing how to kind of get through the scenario. And there's truly nothing more satisfying in a Hitman game than getting through an entire scenario where no one even knows you were ever there, where you hit your targets, you are in disguise the entire time, there's no collateral damage, and you get out completely clean. To me, like that's the best Hitman of just exploiting the situation in the most subtle way that you can. But exploiting the situation in the most subtle way you can makes for boring trailers. So you have to have the part where he comes into the room and shoots everyone in the face with a shotgun, and you have to have your battle stripper nuns or whatever, which I understand is not.
You don't have to have your battle.
I understand
stripper
that
nuns.
you don't. I understand that is not the fault of the IO development team necessarily.
And I think that excuse kind of keeps coming up. It's for Dead Space 3, they're showing like pretty actiony stuff and kind of saying, well, we felt it was hard to demo horror, so we created this slice of the game that's over the top and demos the co-op.
Nonsense, because the first Dead Space, like those early demos of that, were thrilling because of the way that they really embraced the horror and the that tension and those sorts of scares and that sense of isolation. And I will allow Visceral to prove us wrong once again, but I think that being in a cooperative situation of like you are not alone of my buddy's just over there, how scary can this be? I'm not saying that it's impossible for them to turn that on its head and maintain that, but it definitely seems like there's a lot of choices being made that water that down.
Scooby-Doo is pretty scary, Ryan.
He's a talking fucking dog.
I'm just saying.
If I
the show, there's more than one person there.
I would freak out.
Yeah. Right.
The experience is also different when you're playing it in a crowd or watching it in a crowd rather than
the difference also with Scooby-Doo is that it was a ghost.
It wasn't. Yeah. It was an old man in a mask.
Yeah, it was always an old man with a
rubber
hat.
He would have gotten away with it, too.
But they thought it was. They believed
they
it.
Did.
They
all
had
those times.
They had the suspension of disbelief.
Well, they were high every single
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that band.
But, I've always wanted to do a co-op survival horror for that exact reason. It's just to figure out, like, I have this... I would love to just do these mind-fucky things where it's like you and I are playing, and it's like I see you kind of walking, down this hall, and we're going someplace, and And basically, what you think is happening and what I think is happening are different. So
Yeah.
I'm seeing you get on a chair and
Sure.
start to hang yourself, and in your mind, we've escaped the haunted house and we're somewhere else. And,
Right.
and unless we're sitting in the same room, we don't know it. And so that I think you can do co-op, same screen horror. Not same screens, same game, multiplayer horror, and really do a lot of mind-fucky stuff.
So you end up shooting the bad guy, and it's really Jeff.
Well, right. I mean, you can do a lot of cool shit like that, I think.
I think that would be fucking terrifying. Yeah.
So it's not impossible. Is
yeah,
is
but you know
absolutely
what?
true,
Listen,
but
I
that's
think
a-
the other thing is this idea of what demos well at E3. I mean, ultimately, who knows what the goal is? E3. Everybody used to say, E3 is a retailer show, so it's about getting the Toys R Us buyers excited. Maybe that's still the case. I don't know.
Have you attended Secret E3? Have you ever been to Secret E3?
I don't know what it is. So no.
The retailer E3.
Oh, I've been to
we
the
never see.
GameStop
I talked to
thing.
someone today who said like, it's
I
whole
have.
business in a weird spot because Toys R Us is freaking out because the Wii doesn't sell anymore, and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what Secret E3 is. I went to a GameStop show in Vegas. It was
Okay.
just GameStop employees.
Yeah.
And it was like a little mini E3, and then we were downstairs dog and ponying all of our
I know
games.
it's like all of the developers
But
line up.
I
and-
guess like it's not that it's a literal Secret E3. It's
No.
just is that Dog and Pony show the same as the one that you give to the press?
No, sometimes it's elements. Like when Twisted was coming out, we did one for Best Buy, and it was actually it was genuinely because for the longest time I was really kind of like I was going to go out and because I did like 8 spots a day. It's like Sony did 8 basically
Right.
hour shows,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
had a little spot in each one to talk about Twisted. And at first I was going to come out and do this joke about used games and shit. It was like I forget the gist of it was because we were in a big hotel in Vegas, so it was something like I'm sorry I'm late, but. I was going to check into my room, and they said it was all clean, but it was really some bullshit about comparing my room to a used game. And it just went over like a fucking lead balloon. And I said, I don't get it. And they said, look, these guys, you may sit there and think used games have issues, but A, this is how they make their living, and B, they don't agree with you. They think this is really good for the customer, right?
Yeah.
And it was actually really quite eye-opening because it made me go, it was the first time I said, I don't agree with all of GameStop's practices, but I gained a lot of respect for them as employees. I don't know them as a company, but as employees, because I'm like, these guys are real hardworking. They really believe what they're saying, a lot of them, and they love games. And so it was a really cool experience to be able to just spend all day with them. And then we did the same thing with Best Buy. And so I don't know if that's what Secret E3 is, but that's...
It is. I mean, there is this we always see is the press side, and you deal with PR, but there is this retailer side where E3 is a big important
analysts
show.
taking investors around.
It's on the
to see
floor,
stuff
right? Like
and-
if you're walking on the floor, at least the big sort of fortresses of all the game companies, like they have big rooms that are like retail, limited access.
There's stuff like that, but there's also like Microsoft will set up a fake store somewhere in the convention center of like, here is how we think our games should be displayed in your store. Here's what an end
I
cap
always
would
used
look
to
like.
love, and it was like back in the CES days and then early E3. I don't know that they do it as quite the same way, but there was always a World of Nintendo section of the Nintendo booth.
Yeah, I love that.
Full of all their like point of purchase and retail
And I
stuff.
always wanted to buy shit. You
Yeah,
couldn't.
exactly. Like walk around, there's like I want
This is
that
awesome.
case. Like let me get this light up case and put it in my room and fill it full of my Nintendo tapes.
That's why tapes. You are old, man. I want me some tapes. I'm old too, But that's why Comic-Con's so great because you can go to the Capcom booth and actually buy that stuff. It's like, what was that Jetpack game
Right,
they had?
yeah,
It wasn't great, but it
Dark
was cool.
Void, they had
It was like you buy the fucking statue, But the thing about
I'm sure it was a hot seller.
I love the art style of that game.
It was cool.
That's about something demoing though. If you guys remember, because who's the show for? What's the goal of E3, right? So I remember being, it was the year PS2 was first at E3, and Dreamcast was PS1. No, it was PS2. It was Dreamcast. Basically, they had the best fucking booth. It was like the Samba game, and they had Space Channel 5, and they had. And it was,
It's like the 2K Sports stuff was showing, and it was
and I was like,
fantastic.
we're dead. I was like, I worked for Sony at the time. I'm like, we're fucked. It's over. Because every game they had showed so great, and they looked so great. But end of the day, Sony wiped the floor with them when it came to sort of just market share and success and all that. And so the idea of saying, like you're talking about Dead Space, is like, this is what's going to demo better. It's like, ultimately, let's say if the show is for the press or if the show is to get out the word, better to do the Civ thing, where it's like, look, we're going to give you the experience that this game is really building. I played the new XCOM from that you guys. I loved it. I didn't know there was a strategy game. I haven't been following it. I thought it was a shooter.
Yeah.
I guess that's a different SKU.
Yeah, that's different.
And they allowed me to go into the back room and play, and I was like, oh my god, I fucking love this.
It's fucking great.
And it's like cinematic.
It's really great.
Turn-based strategy.
Yeah,
it's really
like
cool.
when you get the guy like kicking down doors and shit, and it's
It's like
still a
Jagged
turn-based
Alliance
game.
meets Uncharted or something. It's very,
Really
very cool.
cool.
You know, I played Tank, which was it was all right.
Great
What are you
name.
gonna do? Yeah,
I need to play it just for the name.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Is it the follow-up to World of Tanks?
No, it's just Nintendo. I played it because I wanted to try
Namco, I
the
think,
Wii U thing.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't played with it before, and it was okay. And you know, but anyway, I was over in the South Hall, so I got to do a lot of that, and it was really fun. I had a great time. I got to actually enjoy E3 as a fan today, and I'm looking forward to going over to see Sony and all those guys tomorrow and see how those games are doing.
I mean, this has to be a relative rarity. I mean, of not kind of humping it during E3.
Yeah, it's been the last 2 years we've been, pimping Twisted Metal, and
Yeah.
I've been barely able to walk around, so it's been
I mean,
really
even
fun.
like prior to that, of just you've had, it seems like something
No,
to.
there's usually like you do a couple years of like crazy because you're focusing on one game,
Yeah.
and then you get that break where you're in the process of either coming up with a new thing or
Yeah.
you're just starting, and so it's every couple years you get to actually enjoy it, like a fan, which is awesome,
And when you can just go into the back room and play XCOM, that's a nice bonus too.
I was grateful. I didn't expect they would let me do that. And
Oh, no.
And the 2K guys were like, "Hey, do you want to?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, thank you." I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to turn it down." But I didn't expect that. I was like, wow, it was cool.
So XCOM impressed you.
I love those kinds of games, and I love that they've found a way to sort of make it visually more exciting. So it impressed me in that sense. I don't know, I was talking, I forget what his name was, who worked on it, and I don't know if it's going to, raise the roof when it comes to sales, but I know I'll fucking get it the first day it comes out. I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
Did they show you? So they showed us. They let us play like a tutorial section was probably like a similar.
I played that, yeah.
Yeah, and then they had a trailer that I think, or whatever they're showing in their theater, that just straight up had Sid Meier as a unit in the game.
I didn't see the movie. I didn't see the movie. Yeah.
So it was just like, here is Sid Meier as a psionic soldier, just beaming shit out of his hands.
He's
people.
like in every game, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm like, this is outstanding.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
God damn it, let me play more of this right now.
That's cool.
It was really cool.
I'm not going to say what it is, but I played a game that you were like, what? Why is this on the show floor? And why is this playable? And why did they spend so much money on displaying this game? And I won't tell you the name of this game, but oh my God, do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
Okay, I'll tell you off.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not being a dick. I was just like, because sometimes you're just like, this isn't ready to show.
Yeah.
You
Something's
know,
just like,
it's
this is too early. It's
And
like
this was like,
early,
they blew this thing out. It was like 12 stations and a big prop and all this shit. I'm like, really? But anyway.
But I guess that sometimes that's the show, right? You got to fill those kiosks, and if the build's
No, not
anywhere
really.
close to
No,
ready,
because-
you got to fill it, right?
Not really, because think about it. What are you going to do? You're going to sacrifice word of mouth, which is more important than how you showed at E3. Better to not show up than have people say this game sucks. Right? I mean, because that you're not going to get that stink off you.
Yeah, it's interesting, like the timing around which like games are shown to the press. There are definitely some cases, like Future Soldier.
Yeah.
The first time they showed Future Soldier to the press, it got like dumped and restarted like one or two times in between them.
Yeah, but that was like a
This
game when
was-
they showed it to us. They were like, "Yeah, we're out in like 6 months," and I'm not a game developer, but I've seen enough games in development that I saw it. I'm like, this doesn't really seem like you guys are going to be ready for that. Like, I'm not. And it turned out that it was another like year and a half, 2 years
Right.
before they actually got it out. So that was accurate of
Yeah, it's interesting. A big part of the process of just like seeing games in development, like there's always, we're not letting people get hands on with it yet. Like that's a big deal. Like we can. Someone's going to sit here and play it for you, but you're not smart enough to play this. It's like, dude, A, I'm not an idiot. B, I've seen a lot of games that are in development. C, it's a fucking cover-based shooter. Like,
Well, I mean,
But
the whole
it-
thing's
but
so
it-
choreographed.
yeah, I mean, they don't know who the audience is, right? I mean, and they, you know,
more to the point, like they could let you pick it up, but they know that there is this very specific
Like, this
narrow
is the path that works. Right. You
if
see behind the facade,
If you
yeah.
go through this stuff, then it will. Like I saw.
isn't that every fucking shooter?
I saw, I saw like Assassin's Creed 3 today, and
okay.
so there was a little, they had a little kind of behind little private area, and they were not letting people play this. This is, I think. Actually, no. The first time I saw the first Assassin's Creed, they let us play it. It was
Yeah, they let us play, but the controls were real rough.
Similar setup, and maybe this was like the lesson for Ubi from this was they were running the game like I've played every single Assassin's Creed game so far. I know how the fuck Assassin's Creed games play. But they clearly, didn't want to just let me go and fuck around in the
Right.
world. It was like, no, we want to highlight, this feature, this feature, this feature, and this feature, and so that that because it could be very easy with something like that to just pick it up and go like, this is pretty much the same fucking thing you guys have been putting out.
Look, it's important, though, right? I mean, you guys, I don't know. I mean, people will listen to this. They'll listen to, it's like what you guys say. They want to put the message in your head that they want you to take away. I mean, they pay a lot of money to get these booths and come here. And I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't push back. I'm just saying that I get the reason.
It's one of those things that you kind of have to be cognizant of all the time. It's just like, all right, they are, they're trying to message to everyone. That's what a marketing department does. They're out there kind of trying to spin stuff to the public and all that stuff. But sometimes over the course of E3, especially when you're, up all night and just like, working and all this stuff, like you show up in this kind of compromised state of being super tired, and it's just like, all right, now I got to be extra on my shit because they're just going to try and get me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and they do this in all industry. I mean, in tech and everything. The trick is to figure out what they're trying to message you, and then you have to kind of go back and say, okay, well, why is it that they were talking so much about this thing? And then you kind of look behind the curtain, and you're like, oh,
because these other 4 things are broken.
Yeah.
To be fair, I thought the Assassin's Creed 3 demo, while not getting to play it, looked fan-fucking-tastic, and I'm glad that they showed me what they showed me because it did kind of highlight, like, okay, these are the areas in which they're evolving it. Like, is the combat, that's going to be pretty much that. That's going to be a basic known quantity, it seems.
Yeah.
Other than being able to, like, grab an enemy and hold him in front of you. Like, the stuff they showed during the stage show for Ubi, of, like, hold a guy, they shoot the guy instead of you, then you can, run up and attack them just as, kind of a human shield. But, they were able to then kind of highlight some of the other mechanical differences and show off the world itself. Like, we've had 3 games in basically the same setting, so for them to go to like, oh yeah, we've got new character, we've got new setting, we've got some new mechanics.
Muskets.
And you've got a little hidden musket, which I don't know how that works, but it's a video
Is
game.
that a
so
euphemism?
Girl, let me show you my hidden musket.
no, I mean hidden blade. We're already there, man. We didn't need the gun metaphor.
Devil May Cry. Did you play it? I
haven't seen anything for
was
Capcom.
It good?
I think it looks pretty cool. I'm not a huge Devil May Cry guy like the other games, so I'm not married to that character design or anything like that.
Right.
But I think what they're doing with that world and what they are presenting, I think the character looks cool.
That's good.
The world they're crafting looks really interesting, and the gameplay feels tight. It feels tight like you would want a Devil May Cry game to feel. Again, like I'm not super deep into those other games,
I play them casually. Like I love
Yeah.
the world. I can't get in. I can't do 150 hit combos and shit.
Then I think you will play it and go like, this feels like a Devil May Cry game.
Awesome.
From the gameplay side of it.
Sweet.
And they've got some interesting kind of alternate attacks, like kind of hold down a trigger and do stuff, and you can kind of shift into different weapons, a big scythe and that sort of stuff. So
Did you guys go to the Sony booth?
I was through there for a little bit today.
Because I haven't played God of War. I haven't played Battle All Stars. Are they good? Are they great? Are they amazing?
All Stars is interesting.
Okay.
This is the Smash.
Yeah, it's the
I didn't want to say.
game.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's
sorry.
Yeah, there's some pretty smart people working on the game, but it also it's very much like Smash Brothers. It's like there are attack buttons, and you hold in a direction to do different types of attacks, and they're very directly kind of cribbing from that style.
Right.
And I've gotten to a point where, like, when they first announced it, I was like, well, that's shameless. Like, that's ridiculous. But I've kind of come full circle, and I was like, yeah, it's shameless. It's kind of cool, though. There are a lot of just Sony characters. I think with Sony's lineup of characters and the reservoir they can draw from, is so much quirkier and weirder than Nintendo's. I mean, Nintendo, it's like, you know, you have all these classic characters that are just close to our hearts from when we were
And they all
kids,
kind
you
of
know,
fit in the same
Mario,
universe for the most
exactly.
part.
There's
Yeah.
that Disney thing going on where when you look at
You
them
can line
standing
them
in a
up.
row,
The scale's
you're
right.
like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
these are the Nintendo guys. But then you're like, all right, now we got Nathan Drake and we got Kratos and we got Parappa and a Big Daddy from BioShock.
Right.
You know, it's just such a crazy roster. And getting crazier, I guess, as they continue to reveal stuff. Hopefully, that has me excited about it.
Cool.
So David, what's your relationship with God of War like at this point? I'm curious, like, just non-existent.
No, I mean, I know the team. I like
Yeah.
some of the guys on the team. They're still good friends and colleagues.
Because
but
I mean, I've not seen much of the game itself, but like just the thing that keeps coming back is just not necessary. It feels like we need games to put out before we get to our next system. God of War has done well for Sony over the years very consistently. So they're going to do another. I don't think
it's kind of how I feel about Gears of War Judgment. Is like
sure, I think those fall into the same bucket very easily.
Dude, that wrapped up nicely.
Yeah, and it's not to say that they're bad games. It's just this case of like, wow, we went through these trilogies, and now here we are, another one of these on this generation of hardware, because those consoles aren't ready until next year. Like it's this weird stopgap solution of just like, well, shit, we got to put something out, you guys, and that's yeah. So both those games just feel really strange to me.
Mm-hmm. And I know that the reaction to multiplayer in God of War has not been, when they did the reveal, was not super positive.
I've never been a huge God of War guy, so
yeah.
I kind of look at it and go like that. Yeah, the multiplayer just looks weird. It looks really out of place.
No, I have not made it to the Sony booth, but Last of Us, I need to go and see that.
That's
obviously,
playable at the booth.
I don't think they're letting people play it.
Right, I thought it was,
Yeah.
okay. That's what I heard
Yeah.
too. Okay.
I'm gonna go spend a solid hour looking at that game tomorrow morning.
Nice.
So,
I think I will be at the Nintendo booth while you're doing that, so I'll soak in whatever it is they have to show there.
I ran over there. They have Game & Wario, which is like a Game & Watch themed Wario.
I understand there's a bow in it, so
yeah. So
Year of the Bow continues.
All right, why are there so many bows in games right now?
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
Hawkeye.
But really, I think those are just more symptoms of just bows in popular
Bowmania.
culture. I mean, the bows
Sounds
in
like
these
a
other
mystery.
games have been in development for long enough. Many
Wasn't
of
there
them.
a Robin Hood remake this year?
Like Crysis 3, the thing is like, well, we gave him a bow.
Yeah.
So there's more stealth potential.
Crossbow is always fun.
Assassin's Creed has a bow. Rich Gallup is shaking his head no to the bow. No bow?
I can't think of a reason. There is no reason for this.
You don't think so? I'm thinking there's like weird socioeconomic implications.
You think anybody can
Of,
make
like,
a bow with a stick and some string?
It's sort of like when the economy's bad, we like to have very cheery entertainment, and when the economy's great, we like the dark shit of like maybe like what is lots of bows.
It's the same reason that there are food trucks. There are bows in video games.
Try to get us used to
Society's breaking down, man.
Did anyone go to the sushi burrito food truck outside of E3?
No, but I've had sushi burritos in San Francisco.
Unbelievable.
It's a delicious thing.
Life changing. Yeah. I had a nachos. It was a Doritos classic flavor with tuna, avocado, and eel sauce. Blew my mind.
Welcome to the West Coast. We don't have deep dish pizza, but we do have ridiculous fusion.
And we take two things that are perfectly good on there ourselves and just jam them together.
Well, what if we did that? I don't know. That could be good.
I like burritos. I like sushi. Okay.
It's Generation Remix, man. You can make it your own.
God, I was kind of hoping during the Microsoft press conference, I was like, God, what if at some point just Jay Allard just ran out here?
He's long gone.
I know. Well, I still have the dream, man. I still think about it every once in a while.
Was the Fast Talker at UB this year?
Mr. Caffeine, no.
No.
They had some other dude with Aisha Tyler.
Some YouTube sensation.
I like that guy. I thought he was pretty good.
Did anyone play
Made for
the
good Twitter.
really cool
I'm kidding.
Watch Dogs
Mad
game?
look from
That is not playable. No,
They've shown what they're going to show of that.
Yeah, they have a theater set up on the show floor, but it's just showing that demo.
Yeah, it's that same thing.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a ways off.
Is anyone with me? Does it feel like Ubisoft is really trying to find ways to put Assassin's Creed into everything they're doing, like new Splinter Cell. Like you see some elements of Assassin's Creed in there, just the motion and I feel like Watch Dogs has a real similar thing. Assassin's Creed, but with Syndicate.
I mean, at this point, everybody who works for Ubisoft has probably touched that franchise at some point.
Yeah,
right?
I guess, right?
So
yeah,
they've
it's
got
all hands
some
on deck
idea
on
of
Assassin's
how to
Creed.
propagate those
So
ideas.
yeah, huh?
I don't know.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
like playing Splinter Cell where you can climb anywhere instead of just up the climbing spot. That sounds okay to me.
Yeah,
but then you start having to wonder, and like we've had this conversation concerning, you know, like Ghost Recon Future Soldier, of like if that game now has the mark and execute stuff, and you know from Splinter Cell Conviction, and if it has sort of like the in-environment, like you know text delivery of like information that's just kind of like floating in space or whatever. Like at a certain point, you're like, okay, what makes Ghost Recon Ghost Recon? What makes Splinter Cell Splinter Cell? You look at the the demos for the Splinter Cell game for Blacklisted. Blacklist. And he's got future soldier tech. He's thrown out grenades that turn into little spy robots that climb up the fucking wall and beam back video signal to his wrist-mounted screen. And it's like that all looks like stuff that would have been in a game that you might call Future Soldier. So I start to have to wonder like what. I think Assassin's Creed has a very specific and well-defined sort of rule set as far as like what the experience is and sort of like how the universe works. Even if they jump to different characters, like there's the Vita game that they've got, which is a completely different character, although it will converge at some point. It sounds like. But it seems like they've lost, like they have that for Assassin's Creed, but I don't know that they necessarily have that for some of these other franchises that they're playing around with. And so it's like if the Assassin's Creed stuff works, I could understand like how that would start to bleed.
It's best not to think about that stuff too much, Ryan.
It's
what we do.
All I have is this time.
I know.
This
But
microphone.
on that, I mean, it's at some point the game's a game. If they have a mechanic they like, they're going to put it in the games that it makes sense. You're going to put the target lock mechanic in the games with guns.
Well, that's we have gray goo at a certain point, right? Like,
Well,
isn't that a thing to think about and be concerned about and have a conversation about?
I'm most likely not going to play either of those games. So yeah, I mean,
I thought Splinter Cell looked really cool.
I haven't seen it yet, so
I think it looks
yeah.
awesome.
And I liked the last one, which was kind of
I mean, this
okay.
kind of goes back to the point of I kind of call bullshit on a lot of the things we claim games are. Maybe they can be those things, but at the end of the day, people like Grey Goo in terms of this. It's their simulations, right? It's like you can talk all you want about Sam Fisher's motivations and, they fucked with his daughter and all. Fine. End of the day, cool, you can throw shit and they become spiders and they crawl up. I mean, that's cool. When you said that, my mind, I like that. That's cool.
Right.
I mean, it's not a bad thing necessarily. I think it's only a bad thing
But
if you put it in the
it's-
context of this should be something else.
I guess it is dangerous to start relying on expectation too much, but there is a reason that it's not just called Future Soldier. It's called Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Future Soldier, because those first 4 words are brands that are important for identifying.
But it's two different brands.
But it's
Splinter
important for
Cell's gonna tell
identifying.
you it's more of a single player linear narrative, whereas I don't think the Future Soldier is. It's kind of more of the. It's not really a big story.
But it's a question of like the brand exists so that you can know when you're going to go and spend your money.
Yeah.
Like okay, I understand that this brand means this thing. I know I'm going to have maybe not this exact experience, but I understand that that they know there's an expectation from the audience of certain things. And that you
people
will
were
have
upset,
that.
right? Splinter Cell fans, I saw right when they announced it. I watched
Right.
the conference
Yeah,
and I
man.
liked it,
Yeah.
and people were like, "It's not stealth. It's not stealth." And I'm like, "Okay, I could get that if you associate stealth with that brand. Like if Thief comes out and it's a first-person shooter."
Well, and then I start wondering, like
You know.
the Tom Clancy brand.
But that's all
yeah,
you
like,
do.
the Tom
That's,
Clancy
you know.
brand is devalued. I mean, they're
Yeah,
going to
like,
keep
what
putting it on
do those
stuff.
words even mean anymore when you put them on a
It's
game
like
box? It's like
Madden.
vaguely military.
Yeah.
You know,
So
Madden-
It's gonna be
Madden
real
means
guns.
football.
Right,
I mean, Madden
yes.
and Call of Duty for whatever else you say
It's
about them.
Kleenex or Xerox, right? Or
You know what they mean, you know what they represent, and you know exactly. And in some cases, you know exactly what you're going to get, or at least a pretty good approximation of like it's got the name on the box. I'm good.
And there's an age, probably I don't know what it is, 15 that doesn't even know who fucking Madden is.
Yeah, who's John Madden?
Right.
There's no Madden.
It's the game.
Yeah, so.
I mean, the thing about the Tom Clancy stuff is, to me, Splinter Cell is a solitary game. You're a dude all by himself, and you shoot some people and you sneak around. Ghost Recon is a squad game,
But
and you and 3 other dudes
they've
sneak
had
around.
multiplayer in Splinter Cell for like the last 4 games.
Well, the multiplayer in Splinter Cell has been some of my favorite multiplayer of the generation.
I know,
like,
what I'm saying is
that two-sided multiplayer is awesome, and they should just make a game that's that.
Spies versus Mercs.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And
It's
it
brilliant.
will be in Blacklist.
They
but-
kind of
Yeah.
did, and it was called Ghost Recon Future Soldier.
Oh.
Which had the 4-player cooperative campaign, mark and execute, pretty much the stuff that was in the last Splinter Cell multiplayer. This is my point.
They call it Sync Shot, but it's you mark guys, and if you're playing alone, it's all AI guys. You hold down a button, and your AI guys just kill everyone. And you're like, now I'm going to walk forward to the next checkpoint. It's kind of crazy.
Wow.
And it's not limited. You can just keep doing it.
Okay, so it's not a good game.
Yeah, it's also.
I mean,
not a
there's
good game.
always going to be not good
yes,
games.
It is not a
Sure,
it is
but
not
it's,
a quality
but
product.
it is from the publisher and developer of another game that this
Nobody bats 1,000, right?
I know.
I mean, I don't know how I'm suddenly the UB apologist.
What are you
here.
doing
What
here?
The, what
and
the
I
hell?
also think that Ubisoft has most of the best looking stuff at the show right now.
And they have a pretty good track record in the last few years.
So you know, I'm not sitting here trying to just shit on the entire company or anything. It's just, you know, these are the things that come up to me that when I see the new Splinter Cell game, and I feel like the last game had such a specific vision that of what that game was, and that I felt like none of that got carried over at all. Like there's some mechanical stuff that's clearly in there that showed up for the first time in Conviction, and that's carrying over. But there was just a lot of things about the tone and the look and the feel of that game that have just disappeared entirely.
That last game was pretty dark.
It's kind of like
Conviction.
I thought,
I liked it.
I thought it was good.
I enjoyed that game.
But I think about
It was a dark game.
I think about Wind Waker, right? And I think about Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, a game whose visual style I fucking adored.
Yeah.
I thought that was not the best Zelda game, but a solid experience.
It's one of my favorites, whether it's the best or not.
In that,
Sure.
and I'll agree. But it's it follows a format that is storied and well worn, and they cling to pretty tightly. But I keep waiting for obviously a version of that visual style lived on in a lot of the portable stuff that they did with Zelda. But I keep waiting for I want more of that in just a big lavish sort of setting, and so I keep thinking about that, and I feel a similar way, not as
That's
strongly.
weird though, right? Because I mean, on one hand, you're saying you don't like the fact that Ubisoft's going off brand,
right?
But that's all that Wind Waker was. It was like that wasn't Zelda to a lot of people.
No, it's. I mean, I know it's divisive, and I know that this will be divisive as well. Is that some
it's
people
just contradictory.
How do you mean?
Well, you're saying one thing.
Yeah, you're saying you want one that's the same and one that's not the same.
And then you get mad at
But
yourself.
I'm not. But Zelda is still the same.
But for a lot of people, visually, that was such
So it's a boat
big
instead of a
style
horse.
shift that
sure.
wasn't Zelda. I mean, it wasn't. I'm not saying it wasn't a genius, wonderful game, and I'm not saying it can't become Zelda.
Sure.
But that was such a shift. That's like. But
you still went to the
that's like
temple.
when
You went to
you
the
guys
temple.
watch Doctor Who.
No.
Doctor Who next season, it's going to be a woman for the first time since 1960. That's not fucking Doctor Who. It'll still be an awesome fucking show.
Sure.
But you know what I'm saying? That's not Zelda. It's still an awesome game.
I mean,
But people have as much right to bitch that that's not Zelda as you do that's not Splinter Cell. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
And I'm perfectly okay with being kind of hypocritical about it because I actually I don't watch
Because
Doctor
when
Who.
it works, it works,
but
right?
Yeah,
that's
the
fair, that's
notion
fair.
of like they're going to make Doctor Who a woman. As someone who doesn't follow Doctor Who, like from the outside looking in, like that's great.
I
Man.
think it's
More
great, too.
chaos.
I
Like,
love
let's,
it.
Let's
I think
change
it's very
shit up.
cool, yeah.
But at the same time, fuck Transformers.
Right, exactly.
It's just not. That's not the thing. And I think that is the human condition.
And
I wonder if there isn't something that when there's a striking or a different design choice or an artistic direction that it's good to do it if it's in the service of the art, if it's trying to say something. And this goes back to I think what you were talking about before about trying to strip away some of the cosmetics and the flashiness of games and really get into the core mechanics.
Right.
And I think that's totally right. Like I think a lot of these huge titles go astray because they're doing great graphics and they're doing these cutscenes and really cinematic things, and for no reason. It's totally thoughtless. It's not saying anything. It's not telling a story. It's not in the service of great mechanics. And I would say almost like a counterpoint to some of that, there's this awesome indie game that's being shown here called Hokra. I don't know if anyone's ever seen it. It might be my favorite game of the whole show. Yeah, we played it together.
Where is it?
It's at the Indiecade booth, in the corner by the men's room.
Holy shit, that's indie.
Yeah,
that's Genova
There's
Chin
a garbage can
got
that's on
nothing
fire,
that
and it's
fucking
next
game.
to that.
So let me describe it, and it's going to sound like insane, but basically it's a sports game, and it's a field. It's totally minimalist. So there's 4 players. Each player holds an Xbox controller, and you're represented by a box on the screen, and you move it with the little stick on the controller.
Yeah.
And you have one button, and there's a ball that's like a black box that's smaller, and you try to move your square and capture the ball and bring it into a box that's your color and just stay there and score points.
Okay.
And I found, I played this game for over an hour today, and I was thrilled when I won, and I was crushed when I lost. It was the most fun, compelling, pure, awesome experience of anything that I've seen here.
Do you have any pot left?
Well, I mean,
it does sound interesting. It does.
It's
Juggernaut.
I know it sounds crazy describing it, but it's just there's some magic there. It's an awesome game.
And when you say that's what I felt in that Hell Yeah, the jump.
Yeah.
It's that's the fucking secret sauce of games. I mean, it's there's a feeling, there's a sense, and that's why end of the day, as much as designers. It's the guy who fucking sits there and writes the code, and I'll tweak the code with the programmer, and I'll put the numbers in on the tweaker page, and I'll contribute to that. But it really is sort of the way the animation comes together with the button inputs, and it's just there's a sense of feeling that is so crucial to the medium that I think those people should that should be what we chase,
Absolutely, and I love when you really get a feeling that things were put in the game for a reason, that someone with some critical judgment said, this game is going to have these things because they're essential, and we're going to we're going to skip all the things that aren't. I think that's where you get that great experience.
And it just sounds like you're describing a TRS-80 game or something. It's blocks and a ball. I got to see this thing. This is awesome.
Or that could just as easily be one of the Nintendo Land mini games.
That's right.
Except the ball is only visible if you're looking at this other screen, and everyone else has Wii remotes staring up here. And that's. Every single Wii U game is that they're trying to do that asynchronous thing where it's just take Pac-Man Versus and...
I love Pac-Man Versus.
Then buy a Wii U because it's a console designed around that idea.
Do you like it for $250 to $300?
I'm going to go ahead and buy it. I'll admit, I'm in. I mean, I'll buy it. It doesn't matter. I'll first in line on
every
Saturday
single thing
morning.
I played on the Wii U. We walked up the line and played all the Nintendo Land demos. They kind of had them all broken out and all that stuff, and we played Rayman, which I thought was really cool. And I thought it all seemed really cool, but at the same time, as I was playing them, I couldn't shake this feeling of this is really cool. I'm never going to do this again. I don't want to play this ever again.
Is Nintendo demoing things that weren't here last year? I didn't spend a ton of time there, but I saw a lot of...
Last year was all kind of tech demos.
Okay.
Now the tech demos have been integrated into Nintendo.
Now they have reskinned the tech demos and turned them into mini games for what will be kind of their Wii Sports.
Okay, I'm back out.
The best thing about the Nintendo booth, they have these hot chicks strapped to this gear.
Sounds like the opinion of someone who punches a lot of women in
I was going to say, can you punch them?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Well, I did.
God, we're going to get so shot. God damn it. God damn you all.
Yeah.
All right, Will and Norm, you guys haven't.
Hey, where are the women on this fucking panel?
That's a good question.
This is the
There's
dudiest
a
house
sausage
in Los
festival at
Angeles.
this house right now.
Have you guys ever had a woman on this? You had that girl who got fuck her.
We have had.
I'm not even going to say her name.
We have had
Sure.
certain guests on in the past that have maybe not quite gelled with. But we've had Carrie Gouskas from EA Mythic has been on.
She is in Malaysia right now.
Yeah, if she was here, we would have her on. I go to the show floor, or go to development conferences.
Well, I know they exist in the industry.
They exist,
or they here.
but they're still, look at who is the face. Look at who is coming out onto stage to talk about the developer's game. Look who would come and be a guest who would be PR cleared to do such a thing. There's not a ton of women in that group. I wish that we could get Amy Hennig, but we don't rate that high. But yeah, they're
women are more sensible, I find. I mean, seriously, it's like, I'm not going. I mean, I'm not going to go on that show, and I think because at the end of the day, the people who train you in PR, if your end goal is to do good business in the short term and maybe the medium term, they're absolutely right. I mean, everything that they say to reporters, you shouldn't not listen to. I never do. and there's been value to it for me in the long term, I think. But certainly if you're not sort of after that particular carrot, I mean, PR training, it works. It sucks.
Well, we had you on last year, and then we had our Sony appointment the next day. And
they didn't know.
So someone said, I heard you had David Jaffe on your show last night. I went, yep. And that was it. It was like a very...
I didn't work for Sony last year.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It was just a funny aside. But they brought it up at all.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you gonna do?
So Will and Norm, guys haven't been to the show yet. Norm, I want to break you out of your shell over here. I feel like you've been super quiet. Hi.
Yeah. Norm got up at 4 o'clock.
He just wanted someone to ask him.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
4 o'clock. We're here to see Wii U.
Early flight.
That is
we saw last year. We're going to see here. We're going to see Microsoft. There's some peripherals we want to see.
Yeah.
Smart glass.
I heard Brad had a great conversation today with John Carmack.
Conversation implies that words are being exchanged in two directions.
Brad listened to John Carmack for a while.
Did you wear the goggles?
Would love
Yes,
to
I
listen
did.
to him tomorrow.
Was it an interview in the sense that you said so, and then he just started
All right,
immediately?
so I finally... This is kind of embarrassing at my age, but do you ever have one of those revelations where all of a sudden you feel like you know yourself just a little bit better?
Sure.
Yeah.
So on the way to...
All the time, actually.
Yeah.
It was kind of scary.
Mostly in the bathroom.
So on the...
Turns out.
Wow. Okay. So on the way to the interview, I finally realized why I get nervous going to talk to that guy.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm paranoid about not coming up with questions worthy of his intellect.
Yeah.
Like, straight up, I don't want to bore him in the interview, and I want to, get something good out of him.
Which means we're all stupid because he's got no fucking problem sitting down.
I took a nap a while ago. He was so disengaged.
Poop noises.
Point is, I made myself feel better because it's the old joke about, you'll get maybe 2 questions in, and he's got so much to say that'll be it.
Hey, you know what? If you're bored, then you're boring.
Set a new record.
So
set a new record.
Yeah.
Did not ask a single question.
Nice.
Really?
Nice.
Not do an introduction.
Wow.
Didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Barely got in the door. It began.
How did it begin?
At some point, it was just sitting there, and I saw it, and I'd maybe motioned toward it or said something about it, and he just started telling me about it. And at some point, Thomas was like, "Can I put the mic on you so we can just get the rest of this?" And at some point, the PR was like, "You should put that thing on and try it," because we were almost out of time, and I still had not used the headset.
Jeez.
Because he was just telling me so much fascinating stuff about it. Yeah, probably the most interesting thing that I'm possibly going to see at the show.
And
Explain.
you used to play Doom 3.
Well, I mean, that's just
yeah, I mean, it's just kind of
it's an engine that he knows inside
there.
and out,
Yeah.
and it's open source now, and it's just a good venue for him to hack support for this thing he's built into it.
But he's I mean, John Carmack is a high level technologist more than he is a game designer
He's
or
a
developer.
tinkerer,
You
too.
Rocket Man.
Really should watch this video. It is absolutely fascinating.
And are he and Michael Abrash having like a 3D goggles off?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
'Cause, like, that's-
Abrash is all
Abrash is doing the same
wearable computing
thing.
now.
Yeah,
Well,
kind
I don't
of.
know about specifically optics like Carmack is doing.
So Carmack built I know he disassembled a pair of those Sony HMD.
He had that thing there too. This is I wish I could remember the name of this thing. You probably would know it. It's like $600. It's a hobbyist kit.
The Vuzix one or the other one?
The thing he's using for this.
I don't know what he's. Well,
I don't think it's on the market yet. But
people told us we should use it for the third-person camera.
Sure.
Yeah.
So he's using technology in this that he used in rockets for his aerospace company.
Yeah, that seems right.
Some of the I forget which sensors are in this thing that he actually got in touch with the manufacturer and requested a new firmware. It was like he said it was one of those days where it's good to be me because they had heard of me. And so they went and rewrote the firmware for him to double the sampling rate on this thing to do what he needed it to do.
Does it have head tracking in the whole 9 yards?
It's like full-on head tracking. He was talking about, he got really technical with the latency on this thing and was talking about the threshold in milliseconds under which you don't perceive any latency. Like, it feels like you're moving your head with the view. And he was having latency problems where it was taking longer to get the signal processed through this rendering pipeline to the thing than it would take to send a packet over the internet from, like, New York to London, basically. Watch the video. Like he could put it a lot more interestingly than I can.
But it's a VR headset.
It is, yeah. Except his is literally held together with electrical tape.
And it's a pair of like Oakley goggles.
He talked about using specific lenses and having them balanced and focused a certain way to widen the field of view. Like, I don't know where he got his knowledge of just practical optics, but apparently he knows about that stuff too.
Well, he just pulls it out of the man makes rockets.
Yeah. He made light in games, and once you know how to do that, then apparently it all just kind of falls from there.
Yeah. It was incredible stuff.
What do you do to prep for a Carmack interview? Do you go through and read, like, you go through Twitter and, like, read a bunch of Wikipedia pages and stuff like that? Or okay,
like there was a MacGuffin this time, you know?
Yeah.
Like there was a thing to talk about, and that made it super easy.
Yeah, last year when you talked to him, it was just like, do you want to talk to John Carmack? It's like, what about?
And we had no notice last year.
It was like now.
5 minutes before, they were like, hey, we got an opening. You want to talk to him?
They always do that.
Yeah.
They did that to Norm and I one year, and we went into the back room of some scary theater, and Carmack talked at us for like 45 minutes or 30 minutes or something, and I ended up with a 12,000 word transcribed interview or something that was just
I could have sat there all day.
Almost completely unintelligible. It's like super compressed information.
Yeah.
You can like unpack a sentence into 3 paragraphs if you go through and translate what he's talking about.
RAR files.
Kind of, yeah. It's aces actually, but
okay.
It's a little bit better
The
than
next
RAR.
time they drop you off just unprepared, just be like, do you remember that time you made Doom?
How about John Romero?
That was awesome.
That fucking
just
guy.
do that.
Yeah.
I met John finally this year. He's awesome.
He's a good dude.
He's a
He's an
really
amazing
good guy.
guy.
Yeah.
I'd never really gotten to know him, and he was very cool. Very nice guy.
I did a panel at IndieCade last year, and we had the sponsors came by in the middle of the panel. I was hosting the panel.
Right.
The sponsors came by and gave us like swag and video game stuff to give away. I had to come up with some way to give stuff away, so I was like, let's do some game trivia. And John Romero stands up and comes up to the stage and starts asking trivia questions.
That's awesome.
In the audience. It was a very weird and awesome experience.
And wow, that's very cool.
Jeez.
Is that the first time you met him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brad, while we're talking to you here, while we got you open up here, let's talk Star Wars.
All right.
You saw 1313.
I did.
What's the? Do we know what the significance of that number is, or is it just a cool number?
It is the level of the planet that you are operating on. I guess it's the city planet. It's Coruscant. It's like the capital of the galaxy or whatever. If you know your Star Wars.
Oh, you're saying that like the floors that there are.
Supposedly there are thousands of levels from the core of the planet to the top of the city, and out of like 5,000 levels, you are on 1313.
Entire game's there.
Yeah. And it's described as like, that's where the seedy underbelly of the criminal element operates, or one of the places. That's where the mature stuff comes in. I said specifically what makes this mature because, like, to your point, nobody knows how to curse in the Star Wars universe.
No, they're terrible at it.
Nobody is going to get it on because nobody wants to see that. So what else is there?
I kind of want to see that.
Hut sex. Hut sex.
Depends on who's involved, maybe.
Hut sex.
I don't know.
It's Natalie Portman?
Like alien genitals. Like let's make it real, man.
Mass Effect had all kinds of alien lady boning.
Yeah.
Star Wars needs to go there.
Yeah.
When I was at Comic-Con 2 years ago, I saw this cosplay dude dressed up like a stormtrooper, but he had been in a fucking M-rated fight, so it was a bloody stormtrooper with pieces of his mask and pieces of his chest plate all ripped off and shit.
Yeah.
And that was the first time it ever entered my brain, M-rated Star Wars, and I was like, oh, it's a beautiful thing. It's like it's such a great thing
and
for
untouched, 30 years completely untouched.
Is that what I mean? Is it, I don't know.
The creative director said very specifically that they were trying to get away from the really black and white kind of moral dichotomy that you're used to in Star Wars.
Right.
And they want shades of gray in this thing.
Bounty hunters.
Yeah, you're a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, you can talk all you want about Sam Fisher and Splinter. If they fucking took Boba Fett and put it in the fucking Splinter Cell engine, I would be all over that, man.
They said very specifically, they were like, they stepped back and thought about why is it that people are so fascinated with the bounty hunter in the Star Wars fiction.
Sure.
And it comes down to the toys, like the gadgets.
Yeah,
Just
the gadgets, yeah.
The possibility of this wide array of like largely hidden, unexpected
He's the closest thing they have to
capabilities.
Batman.
Yeah, pretty much.
Boba
yeah.
Fett is Batman.
Yeah.
Batman still wins.
And the costume's just awesome. I mean, it's a great fucking costume.
Speaking of the costumes, like everything about this thing screams original trilogy. Like no sign of the design aesthetic or sensibility.
Like the
of-
super
of the
sleekness.
prequel, nothing. Like
Yeah.
everything about like just real hard edges,
chunky, dirty.
hard edges. A lot of like gritty detail on the ships. Like the costume design, there are like straps and hoses hanging off of stuff.
I mean,
Wizard.
That's the thing.
That means good.
That's the
If
thing.
you watch the new trilogy.
That's easy to forget about the original. Just touch the bottoms of your shoes together. It'd be perfect. That people forget about the original Star Wars trilogy is that before that science fiction was all super clean.
Yeah.
It was this idealized
Fucking
vision
Stanley
of the future.
Kubrick.
And you look at Star Wars, it's like shit's dirty, shit's used, and like that is I think a key thing that they completely lost sight of.
It looks a lot like that. Tonally, they said they basically wanted to make the Cantina into a game, like just that kind of cross section of this kind of seedy element. A lot of which is very alien.
Does it play great? I mean,
they played the demo.
So what did you actually see? Like, what actually happened in this demo?
It was a longer version of the thing you can see clips of out there. They've put out some B-roll now that you can watch.
It's a long way off, though, right?
They're not saying they're being
Okay.
cagey, but I mean, it's.
You're saying it's a long way
Pretty
off.
obvious this is not made to run on currently available hardware.
Interesting.
I mean, do you want to know how it looked or what it played like? Because I feel like those are.
I'd like to know what it play. I'm just what is it?
I mean, I guess that's the question. Is like, what do you actually do in this?
To be really reductive, the demo they showed is Star Wars Uncharted. Like half of it was cover-based shooting in like a freighter that was under siege, and the other half was climbing on the outside of the freighter as it's blowing up. I mean, specifically with like railings hanging off that you're jumping up to and sidling along.
What's your character?
They're being weird about that too because obviously he was controlling a guy, but they were like, we don't want to say anything about who you're playing in this game. So, for all I know, that was the intro scene, and that guy dies, and you take over as somebody else, or maybe there are numerous bounty hunters that you play. Like they wouldn't get into that stuff at all. But they did say this stuck in my mind. They did say no Jedi, no Force, like none of that stuff at all, which almost feels like a key piece of
I mean, the
mythos to just kind of yank right out of there, but
when was the last one? Like Dark Forces?
It's kind of the Jeff. You talked to Ed Boon earlier today about Injustice.
Yeah,
it's the Superman conundrum, right?
I don't get the Superman. I don't get that fucking. I hear that excuse all the time.
Yeah,
just because every medium has its.
But
own.
the problem is that with the Jedi, it's what Star Wars Galaxies ran into.
But they're not superhuman. There are limits to the Jedi.
But everyone, if it's the thing that, I mean, I guess it cuts both
They are
ways.
superhuman. But
What is the Superman conundrum?
I mean, if Superman is basically all powerful, then how do you fight Superman?
And indestructible.
But that assumes you take on that logic and say I can't question that logic. If you make a video game, who's to say you can't introduce enemies and scenarios that
Sure. Oh, and obviously in the comic books they haven't. They've fucking killed Superman.
Right. So I've never really understood people say you can never make a Superman game. It's like
when they announced Injustice and showed footage of Superman getting beat up and all that stuff, people were like, "You would never get hit by Wonder Woman." It's like,
sure, Batman can kick the shit out of Superman because he's got a kryptonite ring. I mean, there's
I mean,
shit
so
you
they just have to ride around it. I mean, that's the thing.
And at some point, you get into the scenario of like, all right, these guys came up with weapons that can deflect a lightsaber, and it's like, oh, then the Jedi came up with a lightsaber that can cut through that, and they're like, oh, well, we came up with something that'll block that thing. Like,
my point is,
contrived game
Infinity
of
plus one.
Like this game of one-upsmanship.
That's why
Sidestep
reboots
it.
happen.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like this strikes me as a big positive. Is
Yeah.
sidestep
I
it.
agree.
Is like
Just get it out of the way.
instead of having to right around it, and then right around that, and then right around that. Just fuck it. Just let's not talk about Jedi because
I don't think that's why though. It's just not fun. What Star Wars game has force powers that are fun? If you go back to Second Sight and you go back to PsyOps, all these things, it's like it looks good in concept art. This idea of I can levitate shit or I can push. Even like what's
Force Unleashed was, had moments.
What's the fucking game with Cole from Sony? The fucking
Infamous.
It's like it just doesn't feel as good. It's just there's an animation issue. I mean, I personally have never found force powers in video games to be what you think they're going to be when you see them in a piece of concept art or you see them in a movie. They never feel satisfying.
I mean, well, you're right. And again, like if you're going to play as Superman, you want to be able to fucking punch through the earth because if you're going to be Superman, you don't want to be able to get beat up by some second string fucking robot.
No,
and but to make a game where you are going to fight robots, you have to come up with some contrivance. It's the problem of the reason that playing as a Jedi is not satisfying is because you don't just walk up to enemies, slice once, and they fall apart. Because that's what happens when you use a lightsaber in any of the canonical fiction for Star Wars.
Unless it's a video game.
Unless it's Darth Maul, or Darth Vader, or Yoda. I mean.
My point is unless you were putting your lightsaber against another lightsaber,
what about those things?
You're going to cut through just about anything.
No, like a geek's getting old. It's sad. But what about those? What about those fucking things in Episode 1 with the robots that look like insects with the shields? The lightsaber doesn't hit through those. Who gives a shit? Fucking make something a lightsaber
where did those
fucking cut through.
Because that was Episode 1.
But no, it's to your point of it doesn't feel the way you want it to feel.
But I don't mean the lightsaber. I just mean the other force powers.
Well, for me, it's the lightsaber.
It's the lightsaber. Okay.
The problem with the force powers I always had is that, like in the Jedi, in the first first-person shooter, you got Jedi powers in, which was, I guess, Dark Forces 2, right?
Yeah.
Like it was awesome when you're learning and you get like force push and choke, and you have the most basic powers. And then as soon as you ascend from like the apprentice level to being a Jedi badass, it's infinitely less fun. Like having just a little taste of that is awesome. It's the same reason Infamous is the same way. The first 3 hours of Infamous are fantastic, and then once you've ascended to Lightning Dude Badass, it just kind of gets tedious, and it's like all a
gets to
prototype.
The point where it sort of only works as a power fantasy or something, where it's just
it's also
I'm just awesome and I'm gonna crush
preset
everyone.
scenarios. It's kind of like it looks great when you're showing the press. Like, here's a moment where you can do this and throw the guy off the bridge. But ultimately, it's like
here's a TIE fighter, crumple it.
Right, and when you do that once, it's awesome. But ultimately, if you give players that ability all the time, you have to keep coming up with these things.
No,
that ultimately
it's
just
an
feel like
arms race.
Transparent puzzles.
I have
like,
pretty fond memories of playing like some of the Jedi Academy games where there's sections where before you get the force powers and you're sort of fighting enemies and solving puzzles. I always felt like the stakes were much higher, like you were more vulnerable.
Right.
And I think when when you're flipping like 10 stormtroopers off the side of a building or something later in the game, it just lets all the air out. In the same way that if you're like the free-to-play games you were talking about before, if you can just buy your way into a gameplay advantage, it removes all the risk and the challenge of the game. It takes all the fun out of it too.
And I think there's moments in the game where that's good. Like one of the things I don't want to, well, I mean, tangent this, but I mean, like when you play Journey, there was that moment in Journey where he's or she or whatever the thing is kind of sand surfing. Yeah. And you really can't fail at that point, right? But it's just enough. There are just enough obstacles that you can smash into that even though you can't really fail, the part of your brain that recognizes a challenge is engaged, and it's that wonderful sweet spot of I'm not going to fail at all, so I never have that try and die and retry, so it becomes a game. And it's not so easy and so disengaging that it's just like I'm running down a hallway. Yeah. And it hit that wonderful spot that you actually felt like you were immersed in this great moment. And to have a moment like that in a Star Wars game where I get to just be the Jedi for 5 minutes, but that's not the crux of the game. That's almost just like a little, blip on the chart. I think that would be really fucking cool,
So you want the super-powered gravity gun from Half-Life 2?
At the very end.
Spoilers. Yeah,
sorry. I just don't know the context.
So at the end of Half-Life 2, you go through a special door, and all of a sudden your gun does the thing that you wanted to do the whole game, where you can just grab dudes and fucking huck them all over the level.
They have enough self-restraint to only give you that for 5 or 10
minutes.
Yeah,
exactly.
You
get
the 5 minutes of being an ultimate badass, and you're back to normal dude at the start of episode 1.
That'd be cool.
All right, I think we're at about the time where we need to bring this thing home.
Right. Also, that game is the best looking game I've ever seen. Like full stop.
Yeah,
and that's why you're saying it's probably next gen.
Yeah.
Were they running on PC?
They are running on like the best PC hardware you can put in a case right now. And for whatever reason, they had a frame rate counter enabled, and they're barely hitting 30. It looks incredible. And the number of people from ILM that they have borrowed to make this game is crazy. Like they're talking about basically taking all these offline rendering techniques that ILM uses for their stuff and finding ways to adapt that to a real-time pipeline. You need to see it in person.
Is it on the floor? Is it
on that giant
screen?
No, they're only doing meetings, and it's pretty tough to get in. So you should give it a shot. But it, like I said, you've seen this kind of game before, but looking like this, it's really something else.
Cool.
All right, Max, what are you doing at the show for the rest of the time here?
I haven't gotten onto the floor much. I was playing a lot of Joust and just meeting people today, so I'm really looking forward to.
I was going to bring up
playing
Joust
some of this
earlier
stuff.
when we were talking about when you were talking about the brick and ball game or whatever I can't remember the name of the game.
Yeah,
Okra.
Hokra, yeah.
Hokra, yes.
Yeah, I'm running Joust, so
awesome.
Yeah, you guys should come by and play. And like I said, the Indiecade booth is right by the men's room, so I feel like we're getting a lot of traffic into our booth from people who go to use the bathroom and then come out and sort of fondle my Move controllers. So those are definitely going to get burned after the show.
It's pretty gross.
I was going to say, you were talking down about being next to the bathroom, but everyone has to go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
so.
it's a busy, it's a good hotspot.
The pink-eyed jousters. That's what
Everybody poops, guys.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, we were talking earlier that I think stuff like Johann Sebastian Joust is something that is an idea, at least, that electronic games should pay attention to and consider. Of like, here's a game that takes all of the things that we associate with video games, but without that thing that we use to define them, the video part, the part where it has the interaction.
They just think you can have games that aren't video.
What? Right, but it uses all video game technology except for the one part that we happen to use to describe them. And I don't know that's
another great example. Scott, what's the name of the audio game that was at Indiecade? Yeah, Deep Sea. It was Notch said it was the best game at E3 last year, and you put on this like crazy gas mask that eliminates all of your sight, and it's sound isolating. And you have a joystick, and you're trying to hunt this underwater monster, and you have to listen to it, and it's terrifying. Your heart starts racing. And as you're playing, this mask monitors your breathing. So as you breathe more heavily, you lose control of your ship, and it also amplifies the sound of your breathing, so you cannot hear the things. It's a horrifying, scary game.
That's not here this year, though, right?
Unfortunately, is not
that
here
sounds like
this
a
year.
fear box, man.
It is. It's an intense experience, but I like it for the same reason of it's really playing with our expectations of what a video game can be, and there's so little in it, but it's this totally pure, emotional.
It would be so great if,
statement.
every now and then it just flashed an actual image, in front of you, just terrifying image, and then it's gone again.
I think I'd
Tyler
jump out of
Durden's
the
I
chair.
know, it'd be so sweet.
Yeah.
That's why it's by the bathroom. It's we hear you screaming, and anyway, whatever. That's
Our booth is it's a stall, really.
That's right. Booth babes right outside the stall.
David, what are you doing, man? You're still just bumming around. I mean, obviously you've got secret projects.
All I'm doing is, honestly, most of my days are bumming around in meetings. So
Yeah.
I have a bunch of meetings with people, which is great, and parties and kind of connections and,
Yeah.
and seeing the show. So.
But it sounds like whatever your new thing is still in a very incubational state here.
We're actually in the process right now. We've got it built out because it's a really unique art style, and so we've built out a database in real time just to kind of see if it would translate, and it does. It's really cool, and now we're doing a little 2-minute movie in real time. It's not like a sizzle reel. It's actually real time that's reflecting just the spirit of it and the essence. So, we can communicate just visually sort of this is sort of the soul of what we want it to be. So we're going to be done with all that probably July or so, and then we're going to take it out and try to get funding or kickstart it or do something with it probably around August or September.
Excellent.
Yep.
Can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah.
Will and Norm.
Ryan and Ryan.
Thanks.
We're here to listen
Same
to
with
you guys talk about games.
my detective agency.
Yeah.
Let us know what to see tomorrow when we walk the floor.
Yeah.
And you guys have done that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know, other than going and trying to hustle the 2K booth, but go see XCOM if you can. Obviously.
Yeah, I like that's a game that was one of the first PC games I played. XCOM. I went to college, and the dude that was my roommate had a 486, and he had this whole world of games that my Wolf's 3D and like X-Wing playing computer just couldn't cope with. And XCOM I was always really fucking bad at that game. Really phenomenally bad. It is a hard game. So I'm looking forward to being bad at it again, or maybe being awesome because I'll learn how to
maybe
play.
it'll be
I mean, either
manageable
way,
this time for you.
I mean, I'm in. Yeah,
totally.
You know what's hard was Spec Ops, the fucking line. I could not. I could not fucking advance in that game. I liked that it was really hard, but I was surprised they put a demo so hard on the show for it. It was almost like running playing GoldenEye back when that was at E3. I was like, why can't I fucking advance? Well, you're playing it wrong. So I'm sure I'm playing it wrong because it's really hard. It's cool.
They really seems like they just value cover a lot in that game. Like it really is one of those games where you have to stay in there and just
it's
pop
nice
up.
and tense. You know, I like that. You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm stoked about Firaxis because the thing, like, after playing Civ Rev, I'd always been bad at. I played all the Civ games, and I was always really bad at them. So I played them on easy and made giant maps and made really dumb AI and gave myself shitloads of money. And then I played Civ Rev, and that game taught me how to play those games better. And when Civ 5 came out, Civ 5 or Civ 4? 5.
It's the most recent one.
Yeah, so when Civ 5 came out, I went and played that and had a much more real experience than I've ever had with those Civ games before. And like the thing that those guys do is really hard, and I'm really excited to play that game.
This seems. I mean, when I talk to the producers today, it seems like they really do want this to connect with a lot more people. It doesn't seem like this is going to be.
But Civ 5,
alienating.
Civ 5 did too. For as slow burn as it is, it's very accessible. It is not a hard game to get into.
It wears its strategy on its sleeve.
You're right.
This is much. I think this feels much more accessible.
I think that dynamic look that it has will help them.
Yeah.
They'll show it in a way that looks a little more modern.
It's going to look
it's
cool,
not just,
right?
Here's this isometric camera view. Here you go. Like they've got more looks to it, and you get up close with those soldiers and get a look at them.
Remember what was it? Was it Mass Effect 1 that
yeah.
people were like at first like, what the fuck? I'm trying to shoot. And it's like, well,
it's like no, you need to click on the alien and then look at the percentage meter and say, like, is this worth taking this shot? And like, oh well, yeah, I guess I'll try it. And I missed. And,
So XCOM 3 is going to be a cover-based shooter. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, but you hide in front of the cover.
Okay, I like that. They fire hearts at you and it refills your. Okay, that's good.
I'm pretty excited to go see Dishonored, and obviously finally get some time with XCOM after just hearing about it and dreaming of it. But yeah, for me today, like Assassin's Creed 3 was the demo that I had that I was just like smiling during the entire time. Just like,
it's a new setting.
You guys are doing it. This game looks amazing. It looks super satisfying. There's cool, clever stuff going on. Love the setting.
Yeah,
like love the feel of the world and the character. Like I feel like it touches on the stuff that has defined the past games while still being entirely its own thing, and that's I think a pretty difficult balance to pull off. And the naval stuff, which I missed the Sony press conference yesterday, so I didn't get to see the naval battle sequence. Fuck, does that look good? I got undersold on that. Talking to folks last night, like, yeah, it looked pretty cool, but it didn't look, whatever. What I saw was like the water dynamics and the weather effects, and like maybe that's all set dressings, but it was stuff that I did get like a strong reaction from. So I can't wait to see more of that. Jeff, anything else you want to add here?
Well, just I really liked Need for Speed today.
Yeah,
I liked it too. That was really fun.
It's Criterion. Just it's one of those things that I think I think people don't necessarily give a lot of credit to driving games, especially ones that aren't trying to be pure simulation stuff like that. But those guys just get handling and how to make handling that anyone can just pick up and.
They feel awesome.
Do it, and exactly. Like you feel awesome driving those cars.
David
just
said
drifting, like they just
But it's not just it's the track design because I'm going around
they've
the
got
corner.
an open world now.
I never
like
fucking hit the wall, but I almost did, and
Yeah.
I knew just to boost at the right second, and I pulled myself out. And a lot of that's just that perfect just width of, I mean, the road.
Yeah, you played Burnout, and you played Need Most Wanted 1, and I mean, it just feels right, and you know when to do it.
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
It doesn't say Burnout on the box, and they've got licensed cars, so there's obviously only so far that they can go with that stuff. But there's so much Burnout in that game, Burnout Paradise specifically, of just got to find all these billboards and crash through all these gates, like all that stuff that I was more than happy to do, like all the multiplayer challenges and all this really cool stuff. Like they're bringing a lot of smart things, some of which that they did in Paradise, and some new stuff that they're putting into this, and it's I'm really excited about it. It's not cool like driving games, I know. It's like,
but Criterion does them a certain way.
It is.
Can you strafe in your car like a transformer?
No, you cannot. You can drift.
All right,
which real cars can do. I've seen it.
On that note, we're going to call this a night. I'd like to thank all of our guests: David Jaffe, Will Smith, Norm Chan, Max Tamkin, Cowboy, the guys from Firaxis, Chris Tilton. I think that's pretty much everyone. Mikey Newman from Gearbox, of course, who was an absolute pleasure. And folks watching at home, we're going to be doing this again tomorrow night.
Yeah.
8 p.m. all over again. Tomorrow night's going to be way crazier, though. So
tomorrow night's probably going to be a damn mess, right?
Yeah, tomorrow night's going to be a fucking nightmare. So be sure and tune into that 8 p.m. Pacific time. We'll be kicking that off. I know. It's going to be something special. And that's.
I told more people to come tomorrow, by the way.
What are you doing? There's too many people already.
I ran into Mike Micah. What am I going to do?
Yeah,
Say,
right.
Don't come? I said, you come here.
All right. Fair enough. But on that note, we're going to call this a night. We will see you guys tomorrow.